Welcome to day number 1 of the PUBG Mobile PMCO EU West Fall Split Finals. Yes, we've waited a couple of days. The players had a break. We had a bit of a break, but now we are back with a bang, and we are back where it really starts to matter. My name is Imperium with the ever fantastic, the ever lovable, the ever streaming, the ever hard working man, the myth, the legend, Zute. How are you?
Oh my god, what an introduction, Imperium. Thank you for that intro. I'm doing great. We've had a few days off. We're back in the thick of things, and this time around it is more thick than usual because we got the finals going on where more money is on the line, more bragging rights are on the line, and most importantly, right, from PMCO, they get to move into PMPL, but the competition's gonna get even tougher than it ever was before.
Yes, indeed. They've gotten through the group stage, and like you said, that PMPL slot begins. Let's get through the usual formalities. To be fair, even though we're halfway through the PMCO, let's rock it on over to the format in case there are some people watching didn't get to check out the group stage. We started a group stage with 16 teams, and it's gone on from there.
Yeah, so let's head into the format. If you guys didn't tune in the group stage, all right, well, you're in for a show now because we're down to the final. So you see in the group stage, we had 32 teams compete, 16 teams move on. Now we're into the finals. We got 4 matches today, and the competition is looking tough, man. Like, if you weren't here for the group stage, let me tell you, there's some teams to really watch out for. And even though this is PMCO, I've been seeing some really high-level plays, like PMPL-ready teams.
Yeah, it's completely heating up. Simple as that. So that's the format. Let's rock it over to the points and how these teams are going to, of course, help secure themselves in towards the top spots to grab that all-elusive PMPL slot. 15 points for first place. Very important for a number of reasons. Second place gives you 12 points. 10 gives you third. Third place gives you 10, should I say, and going forward from there.
Yeah, point system doesn't change. It's always the same. Pretty good point system. But we already know about that. Let's move on to the prize pool. Prize pool, that's where the money is. That's where these teams have their eye. That's what these teams have their eyes on. Now, 17 through 32, they're done PMCO, the group stage. They've exited, but they all nabbed themselves $500. Money is money. Food is food. I mean, I just correlate money to food. But first place, though, that's what these teams are fighting for now. First place, $4,000. That's a lot more food than $500.
And never mind the fact that it's even $1,500 worth of extra food compared to second place. So yeah, really, really exciting to add the prize pool into the mix. We'll head on over towards the daily schedule. We know it. We love it. We're familiar with it. We still got to talk about it. Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, Erangel.
Yeah, very traditional, so to say, a staple nowadays. But the good thing is this same exact format, the same exact map order was played over the course of quite a few days in the group stages. So all the teams coming into today, nothing new, nothing unfamiliar. That also goes for the teams competing, right? These teams have had time to really adjust to one another, and they've definitely had time over the short break to do some VOD reviews, some VOD footage.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, you know, we're going to have a little bit of a play into the mix of which teams are maybe stronger in certain maps, if that's going to correlate to the finals. Because there's a lot to kind of essentially break down. We can speculate here, we can speculate there, but we can also look at it in terms of, well, these teams are reset to 0, so it begins from here, from now. There's a couple of patterns that are definitely going to come into play. Before we break those deeper things down, let's take it to a real quick break, brought to you by our sponsors, Xiaomi. And we are back. Thank you very much, that wonderful ad by our sponsor, Xiaomi. But this is really where we start to think more heavily about the finals, the PMCO EU West finals, the participating teams, the teams that made it, the 4 through the 12 games to get to this point. We did see the it wasn't Noisy Boys, it was Mega Power top the tables in the groups that showed to the graphic at least of the participating teams in the finals.
Yeah, so these will be the 16 teams you'll be watching from today and here on out. No more groups, no more alternating teams. This is it. These are your top 16 for the PMCO finals.
And just to address one thing that you might be wondering, New Generation, I thought they didn't make it. The team that was invited, there's essentially back end issue, and New Generation have made it through into the finals. So New Generation, they barely got in, but they made it here. And I was even talking to Red X, and I said, look, you obviously got a little bit of luck to make it into the finals, but are you going to look to, of course, prove that it's more than just luck, right? And prove that you deserve to be in the finals? And he said, yes, he's aware that a little bit of luck was involved, but indeed they are going to prove, and they want to prove, that it wasn't just luck, and to show the lobby who they really are. So I'm happy for New Generation, of course. I just really want to see them make big use of it.
Yeah, I feel like New Generation, I feel a lot of teams deserve to be here because it was so close. Like, if we look at the 12th place team from the group stage, right? They finished with 93 points, Douse Legion. New Generation,
yeah,
even though they, barely scooched their way in and they might feel like they got lucky, they finished the PMCO group stage with 90 points. That's just 3 points behind 12th place
That's
team.
true.
So they were basically right there. So they did get an opportunity, though, to really prove their worth this time around coming into the top 16. As for the other side of things, the teams that really proved they deserve to be here, like no question asked, I'm looking at Mega Power, the Noisy Boys, and FDY, the top 3 from the group stage. And all 3 of these teams had massive amount of kills. That's what really kind of set them apart from the rest of the teams. Their kill count was insane. Now, my question is, though, now that we are into the finals, where the cream of the crop, the best of the best, is all playing together and there's no alternating teams, can these 3 teams repeat that massive kill amount with technically a stronger lobby? There's no more weak teams, so to say, to farm off of. This is the best of the PMCO now.
You bring up a really good point about there being essentially no more weak teams per se. So that level of, or that ability to farm up is taken away for a lot of these teams, most notably potentially the top team. So we might see a little bit more of a little bit more of an even playing field for the likes of La Familia to come on board and of course grab some chicken dinners, which they really need to prove that they can pull out, and I'll extend on that later. So I really love that you bring up that point. But about those top 3 teams, and not that we're trying to automatically compare the group stage to the finals, but it has to be noted that those 3 teams together got 9 chicken dinners together. That's pretty big. That's pretty big, and it does set them apart. Never mind the fact that there was 12 points between those 3 teams when it came to the end of the group stage. So we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be repeated in the finals. I do have to give a lot of credit to the Familia, though. They were the most consistent team, and they have been the most consistent team of the PMCO so far. Despite getting 0 chicken dinners, still ended up in 4th, a massive amount of points. And out of the top 5 teams, they got the most amount of games with above 10 points. 9 out of their 12 games were above 10 points compared to 7,
Wow.
6, and 5 of the 4 teams around them. That says something. And that's
Mhm.
big. I'm a massive advocate of consistency. They've shown it in the group stage.
That is huge. Consistency at the end of the day trumps all. It trumps the big kill games. It trumps the big point games, because if you're consistent over the course of a tournament, you will definitely pull ahead. And when we're coming down to the finals, right, where the teams are technically the toughest it's ever been, consistency is what's going to separate you from the other top dogs. And La
Yeah,
Familia, pronouncing that name slightly off, but yes, they
I
had zero
know. I
chicken
can't get it
dinners
right,
in
man.
the group stage. I'm thinking with their consistency and with the experience they've gained, right, playing the group stage, I think they've probably learned enough. They've probably, studied some stuff back together, clean things up, especially over the short break, just to be able to clutch that chicken dinner, to get that chicken dinner through the games of or through the days that we have coming up.
And when I mentioned that to Packy 98, about their kind of inability to really close out their games, he's aware of it,
Hmm.
and he knows that it is a factor that could stop them. And he said that, look, they want to slow things down a little bit, not get too excited in late circles, and
Yeah.
really kind of have that controlling gameplay. And I think that's a big part of that. When you get to the late stages of a game, it's very easy to get not necessarily overwhelmed, but a little bit too excited at the prospect of closing out the game, and then you don't maybe focus as much. Whereas if you take a bit of a step back in the craziness of the moment, and especially as an IGL, it's really important to do that because you have to lead your team. That can make a
Hmm.
big difference. So the fact that he's aware of that as the IGL does at least say to me, okay, you can see a couple of chicken dinners come out from that side.
I could see it happening, especially I know from competing myself, between when I used to compete in the group stage and then you move on to the finals and
Yeah.
whatnot, there's always that short amount of break time. And from my experience, usually anything that went wrong in the group stage, especially when it's just like the smaller things, it usually always gets fixed up moving into the finals. Now, the problem though with going into the finals is that all the other teams have done the same. So everybody has kind of become a better, hopefully, anyways, every
Mm.
team has become a better version of themselves, the best version of themselves coming from the group stage into the finals, and everyone's playing at their best. So it all comes down to which team has adapted and made use of their time the most, I would say, because all the rotations, all the drop spots, we've seen a course of 12 games. We've seen the rotations over the course of 12 games. That's enough
Yeah.
to really get a good idea of a team, like especially if it's a team that has similar rotation pathings or it takes similar positions as your team, favorable spots and whatnot. That's when you could really focus in, and we might see in the finals some specific strategy come out that we didn't see in the group stages.
Yeah, and I hope that, and I'm looking forward to kind of somewhat recognizing that and picking that out amongst a bunch of other teams. I want to focus a little bit on the middle of the pack teams, right? The ones
Okay.
that were pretty safe, pretty secure, but definitely didn't light the stages up for the most part.
Hmm.
Tip Top
Okay.
and Shilin. Tip Top especially. They finished the group stage in their 7th place position. Not bad. Had a fantastic, I think, a first set of games, but then kind of
Yeah.
petered out a little bit and kind of fell down a bit. I'm wondering, was that possibly done on purpose?
Oh,
Do you
okay.
think that maybe there's an element of their saving strats, saving focus, saving just
Hmm.
that little bit of, hey, we don't need to try hard, so what's really the point? we're better off
Mhm.
taking a step back, let other teams get focused on, and then in the finals, that's when we really ramp things up. I'm curious if that's the
Mm.
case. I'm wondering on your thoughts of it.
I know that is definitely a topic to be talked about, but more so when once we reach the PMPL, the PMGC level, right? Those are when teams have refined things so well that they don't even need to worry about bringing it out onto the table. They know they could do those things, so they don't
Okay.
show it. Now,
Okay.
PMCO, I don't really think the PMCO level teams are able to, say they've refined something so well that they don't need to bring it out. But
Okay.
Imperium, this PMCO by far is the most impressive PMCO I've watched to date. Now, that could be a regional thing, or honestly, I think it's just over the course of the years, as more teams play, as more teams have, footage to look at, and we see like the top teams in the world, we learn from them. I think that's the reason why this PMCO has been one of the best. Now, to circle back around and answer your question, as far as Chilin and Tip Top go, yeah,
Tip
they
top.
did look really strong in the first day. So there's a chance on the first day when they secured their points and they realized, hey, we got this. Yeah, maybe they put in their refined strategies back in the pocket and they decided to use the game some like scrims
Mm.
almost. I know one thing for sure at PMGC, and this only happened last year. I remember in scrims for PMGC when I was competing, my team took it very seriously. And when my team execute, we actually placed like number one from the scrim days. Like we tallied the points up and we were first place. And second place was like Blue Bees, another team that also took the scrims very seriously. But teams
Yeah.
like 4AM, Nova, they were nowhere near the top five in scrims. And one thing I've
Yeah.
learned is the top teams, they don't take scrims seriously. They don't play for the win in scrims, but in scrims, they practice what they're not good at, or they specifically do certain things to find more information. So, circling back to PMCO group stage, right? Top 16, they move on, and that's it. All you need is top 16. You don't need
Yep.
first place. You don't need second place. There's no prize
Yeah.
winnings yet. So, it could be the case. So, I mean,
Mm.
we're gonna see. We're gonna see very soon because the finals are starting today, right? And now there is no hide your strats. You want to get number one because money this time is
Yes.
on the line, right?
Man, it's really really exciting. We're loading into the game. It's going to be showing up shortly, so you don't have to look at our faces. But a couple of big points being played out. It's going to be up to these games to really mark their spot, mark their territory, mark their destiny. Hopefully, the PUBG Mobile gods will be nice to them in terms of circles. I doubt it's going to be the case, but that's where you got to be able to adapt in the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And adaptation at this point should be secondhand nature for a lot of these teams because they've had to adapt to some wild, crazy situations in the group stages.
Yeah. It's gonna be wild indeed. Just like it's wild when you own a Xiaomi. Enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG Mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the wonderful sponsors of the PMCO EU West. I don't want to do this, but I'm an asshole, so I'm going to anyway. Game one, one
Okay.
team, chicken dinner for the first game of the finals.
I'd have to go with FTY. They were the third place team coming into the finals today, but I've seen their fragging power. I think I would have to go with
Okay.
FTY.
Look, you know what? He annoys me. I annoy him. I'm gonna have to go for my boys, the noisy boys. I know Agon was in your chat while you were streaming the viewer party of PL. He said he's taking down all the strategies, so let's see if he can make it work out. Let's head on over to the beautiful playing path for game number one of the PMCO EU West. The flight is among us, the flight of the Valkyries, the flight of destiny for this game number one. Let's show it on board because the playing path is a little bit to the west.
Just slightly to the west. Not too bad. It's a As far as this western plane path goes, a little bit towards the eastern side of this whole entire line, there is common car spawns that teams should know about. So for all the teams trying to head to the east, the car spawns are there. You can drop for them. I don't expect too. I really don't expect any hot drops, to be honest, coming into the finals, because teams have had so many chances to look at where each team drops that, I mean, unless if they're feeling very confident, they shouldn't risk a hot drop. Everybody should be able to get to where they want to loot. There might be some issues as the days progress, where the plane path is really bad and maybe certain teams have to drop for similar areas for cars. But this plane path, this very first game, it should be on cruise control for everybody, and nothing should go too bad.
Gas Legion have North George themselves. Sorry for Skill have South George. The feeder's going to be dropping in Severny on the northern side of the river. That phase 1 circle isn't too bad for them, but it's a little bit more painful for the teams on the west. It's a pretty big eastern phase 1.
Yeah, it is a hard shift opposite of plane path. That gives a huge opportunity for a lot of these teams to, make use of that hard shift and go for that fast first rotation. One team that's really rotation focused is Mega Power. Mega Power, the first place team coming into the finals. Well, I mean, first in the group stage, right now in the finals, everyone's set on 0 points currently. But Mega Power, one team that I really noticed took advantage of their starting position, that being Pachinki. I would guess to say their first rotation is probably going to go towards the shelter area or that giant hill west of shelter. I've seen that team play those two spots very commonly. And now I know that these other teams probably know that just as well. And so coming into the finals, right, a lot of these teams, they know how each other play now. So if teams want to spring a trap, so to say, at this stage in the game, at this stage in the PMCO finals, now is the time, like you've got your research done. For almost 100% certain what certain teams are going to do in certain situations.
Now, I do think this, at least this first game of the finals, is going to be similar to the first day of the group stage, where we'll have a level of passiveness, because despite the fact that there is a level of familiarity with these teams, despite the fact that they've gone through the group stage, this is a new journey. It's a fresh start. All the teams start at 0, so they're going to be a little bit, well, we just like to get a couple of placement points on board, have a bit of a solid start, and that in turn I think will force these teams, or automatically shift these teams to a little bit more of passive play style, not being as aggressive as they might have been, at least through the second half of the group stage. We did see Entropic lose a player, so the first kill of the PMCO finals has gone over to Shilin. They picked up 1 point, so they will take that.
Okay. Well, I gotta ask you, Imperium, because you mentioned it even before the first day of the group stage. You touched on Entropic. You said they are a strong team, but they have an issue with losing players early on and making it into the end game with 4 alive. Now that we're finally into the finals, and once again, Entropic, 1 player down, the very first player to go down. What do you make of that, Imperium?
Well, for me, like, Entropic didn't really get to drop in their natural draw spot, which is Milt of Power. I think it was overall maybe a little bit of a poor drop point for them. It makes sense that's north of the river, which is technically less congested. But the fact that it was also a split drop, I think when it's not a normalized split drop, there's risk involved with that, because there's unfamiliarity, and that breeds mistakes, and that indeed was a mistake to me.
Okay. I was imagining you would be a little more harsh on them, since they've come such a long way, and it just, for me anyway, seeing the same mistake being repeated, especially on the very first game. Yeah, it's a different situation. The plane path is different. But I feel like at this point, there's something wrong. right? When you have the same common
True.
issue over and over. But it is the first game. I've seen teams do really bad on the first game of the day, and throughout the course of the finals, they bring it back, which we did see Entropic do. The very first day of the group stage, they did not do well at all. And then as the days progressed, they brought it back. So maybe we're seeing kind of like a repeat situation coming into the finals. They might just be one of those teams that need to warm up a little bit, and they're just nervous in the beginning.
I think for me, it was kind of more the fact that it's not that angry. It's just a little bit numb to it because they've done it so many times, and it's getting to a point where I really want to hype them up more. I really want to hype them up more, and I always will. I'll hype up any team, but when a certain team plays a certain way for so many games, you kind of expect it, and you stop really being surprised at that. I know they're capable of so much more. 110%. We'll have to wait and see if they can pull that out, whether or not it's after they've warmed up. The Noisy Boys rotation from Military Island, I definitely think is going to be a little bit trickier. If they had have rotated a little bit earlier, I think they definitely would have gone for the Eastern Bridge like they have in other Erangel games when it's been an Eastern playing path. But it seems like they're taking things a little bit slower and opting to go into Western Bridge. I can't help but feel that that's because they maybe recognize that this is a stronger lobby. More teams are going to be familiar. They're not going to let the Noisy Boys get away with technically riskier bridge path. So they're going for the safer option for this game one.
Yeah, before we move on to this fight, the Noisy Boys, they did show their hand in group stage how they deal with a bridge camp, and they dealt with it spectacularly well. But of course, all the other teams got to see that too when they did their VOD review. Now, we're moving on to Mega Power. They are indeed playing the position I predicted that they would be playing, on top of that hill, western of the shelter area. And FTY, great setup. They were prepared for a potential contestant up there. And so Biscay, they set him in the Overwatch position. They get that cover fire. They get the knock. And now Mega Power, one player knock, they are able to get that revive. But FTY, it looked like they were running into a trap. But no, it worked the other way around. FTY get the opening knock.
That was beautiful from FTY. Fantastic teamwork and communication. Because Simple was massively overexposed, out of position, and Addis took the risk to pick him up, but that risk was greatly rewarded by fantastic cover for Biscay. It's not much, it's something simple, but it makes such a big difference because it keeps FTY up as a full squad. Now they're going to prioritize a little bit of a stronger phase 1 position, closer to farm, but still on a relatively high ground. Respect moving across from Novo, going for that Eastern Bridge. I would argue maybe a little bit too late in the phase 1, but for the time being, with the amount of teams that have shifted from the west, they're able to get away with that bridge crossing on the eastern side of the map.
Right, the playing path was on the western side, so very unlikely a team will rotate all the way east just to bridge camp, right? Most of these teams are looking for the rotations into central circle, and that hard shift, I don't even see the eastern side of that circle. We are going towards the east. Everybody is in their cars right now. This area of the map, I mean, we still got a few circles left to really determine what the terrain's going to be like, but we have that giant mountaintop that you see on the screen, like just right on the middle, and then you have the buildings, the compounds, and the beach side on the south. It can go anywhere at this point.
Now, as much as I praise FTY, I'm going to give them a little bit of criticism for that. Phase 2 pops up, you should already have yourself in a bit of a core position. There's too much risk involved. This is the finals, right? Don't presume that the area around you is safe. Teams will already have been moving in towards a central area in phase 1. They got away with that. They were very lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, got kind of close right there, FTY. They do keep up 4, though. And yet taking that damage, you see they slowed down their rotation. Their players had to stop, fix up their cars. You see Zodox, he just scouted out a car right there. They're going to take that one up. The rotation slowed down. They could move in further, but teams are very hesitant to do that, right? When you get shot at, you just automatically assume, okay, the other teams, they're ahead of us now. We just barely made it out alive. Let's just chill and wait to see the next circle.
Lumberyard, X team, tip top. You can argue on the edge of it, you kind of have 4 Romanian boys and Mega Power down the hill. It's a good position by Mega Power. I don't think it's too bad. Tip top may be going a little bit too late towards this Lumberyard area. They're going to have a few shots being fired up at them by both Mega Power and X team. A bit of a shaky start for Tip top as they find their bones in this game 1.
Tip top, they do manage to get their rotation in, no casualties. Of course, X team right over the top, so they're fine for now. But the problem is when the next circle shifts, if X team really wants to, X team can pin Tip top in, and Tip top is at the mercy of X team to being able to rotate. Now, speaking of rotations, I still see so many teams still making their way in. We got teams La Familia on the northwest, and X team taking some shots. They are aware of X team's position now, and you can see Tip top trying to readjust right now, blowing up the car, losing vehicles. Tip top just their vehicles are just getting dwindled down right now.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I'm liking this little bit of aggression from X team. One thing that you mentioned, I'm curious about if it should be the kind of other way. Should X team even wait for phase 3 to pop up before they go for an engagement? Should X team be looking for the kills and at least a heavy punishment before the next phase pops up?
They should if they can find the opening, right? Tip top right now, they're playing very defensive, very safe.
Yeah,
and
true.
This push down, it is like the center of the previous circle, so there's a good chance X team could get third party. Teams are all around there. And the circle did shift out. We're heading towards the south. We are going down to the beachfront side, and where all the compounds, the isolated compounds, I must add, of the southern Milta Power side.
Very tricky phase 3 shift. Let's be fair. Very tricky shift. X team did get a knock onto one of the tip top players, but at that point, I kind of respect the fact that X team realized that it's not worth us hanging around trying to take a fight. We're better off rotating and prioritizing a position inside this phase 3. They make their way down Lumberyard in a bit of a 2-2 split. Milta is going to be the home of a number of these teams on the edge of the CD4 Romanian boys' last fight, and Rexpect, sorry for skill on the coastline. Salazar Rexpect is way out there on his own, but a possible technical anchor point for the rest of the team.
I think Rex just kind of, Salazar got caught out during their scouting, and then that circle popped and another team just went right in between. So Salazar, he is very split. He should be looking to try and group back up with their team. Meanwhile, New Generation making their rotation in. And I'm seeing on my mini map, FTY, that circle shift was not what they wanted because that rotation got slowed down because they got shot at. They're being punished for it. Now they're stuck on the very, very edge of that circle. You see them on the screen right there. They're the Noisy Boys also in a similar position, but the Noisy Boys at least are in front of FTY and can hold FTY back for as long as they want to.
And because the Noisy Boys had much, fresher vehicles, they were actually able to rotate in ahead of FTY. So you're dead right about what happened earlier, and that's the kind of domino effect that can happen inside these games. When you're dealing with stronger teams, you're going to get punished much quicker for your mistakes, for your missed positions on board. New Generation make it onto the edge of the Milta City, and I really like this position for New Generation. Great rotation from phase 2.
This compound, one of the strongest compounds in this zone as far as rotations go. Milta, right? If you're anywhere deeper in Milta, it is hard to exit out. But New Generation, they took the one compound that gives them vision and somewhat control of the eastern shift if it does go towards the east. So beautiful rotation by New Generation. Love this position. But you can see there's still a lot of teams in front of them, and it does not mean just because they're here, they get to rotate for free. They will pass in the sight lines of quite a few teams.
Entropic are in the mini Milta. The next circle shifts up and the centers right on top of Mega Power. Game 1. They've been gifted the circle, but their compound is going to be focused. Will anybody crash? That's something that we'll see answered soon enough. But for the time being, 4 Romanian boys are also in a pretty good spot on the southern side of this phase.
You said Mega Power is gifted. I would have to disagree with that, man. I've been saying Mega Power is that central position team. They focus on their positioning, their rotations. Yes, this game, we could say they got gifted, but that is their strategy. They're very positional and rotational focus based. So eventually, one of these games, the circle will put them in that spot that they want, because that is what they prioritize. So technically, yes, gifted, but from, you know, a competitive standpoint, they're bound to get one of these type of games eventually, just due to the way they play. So yeah, really great position from them, and everybody else is going to cluster in that circle ring around them. Oh, 61 alive, Imperium. Are you ready for the chaos that is about to erupt in the next few minutes?
The lava's gonna start spewing from the volcano, bursting at the seams. The dam's gonna break, the water's gonna flow, and we're gonna have a magnitude of action on board. Shots gonna be fired. Broody Boy from Rexpect opened things up a little bit with a knock on bangs, and Tropic are doing what they can to try and find any kind of opening on the eastern edge of the circle, getting a knock onto the defeaters. However, defeaters aren't in the circle themselves. I'm curious on Das Legion. They're the kind of team to play on the very edge of these circles, and shifting away from them, I think, has actually put them in a pretty good spot based on their playstyle. They're on the northern edge of the circle, coming down the hill, but they do have all Rejection Gaming in front of them.
The Lumberyard's still in play, so we have quite a few teams up there, just like you said, all Rejection and Daos Legion. We see Entropic here coming in from the eastern side. They took over the mini power station of Milta Power. They do have the zone. They are on the edge. They're down to 3, but they still have vehicles. And still 61 alive. Somehow everybody has managed to find some position in the circle, minus Defeaters. Defeaters is the only team that has not found a position yet. They might be exiting the lobby very soon. You see it on your mini-map. That purple team on the southeast driving straight in, actually. Oh, okay, they stopped short. They stopped short. They found a position, but it is the same position that Entropic might have been looking at, so this fight will break out.
Yeah, X-Team are kind of third-partying them a little bit. I think Entropic realized that the team were pushing in, so they sent the other 2 players forward away from Mini Milta. There's enough cover for the defeaters where they're able to get the revives off, but fortunately just not enough control, not enough aggression from Entropic. I know they're aware of another team. This is where third parties, 4 parties really come into play. Sheilin are down on the southeastern edge side. However, risk could be taken a little bit more heavily. One of the Daos Legion players shy north of Entropic. The circle shifts massively down south. Massively down south. Heavily favoring 4 Romanian boys, Sorry for Skill and Mega Power.
Yeah, Mega Power now on the edge of that circle. When you're on the edge of such a small circle, teams will crash. And Entropic, they got the nade opening. Will they pick up these kills? I really think they should go for it, because this circle shift is not nice for them. If they could pick up the kill points... I spoke too soon. Entropic, they sent 1 person in. I'm not sure what the plan was there.
I don't know what the hell that was, but Starkey has a way of at least evening things out. The thing about Defeater is that all 4 players are bunched in one place. 2, 3 nades, a Molotov here or there. That'll be the end of them. But they missed the opportunity in Tropic. And now you have Vasi from Daos Legion looking to come in with the rest of his squad, right? They were on top of the Lumberyard Hill. They were playing on the edge, and now they're looking to sweep their way in on the eastern side. That's Legion on the Taddy gets ahead in the front line. Starkey gonna look to drive away. Short's still alive, but inside the blue is gonna deal with the front of the zone. And never mind that's gonna be him going down. Starkey is eliminated, and the Familia go out. As far as I know, first, yes, they do, followed by Entropic, suddenly down to 14 teams. FTY being put under massive pressure. Defeaters looking to move away. That's Legion, like I said, taking advantage of that shots, going left, right, and center from all the Daddy Whiskey. His Boogie is smoking up, but he's able to get away. But for how long? Out of one fire into another. Sorry for skill going to be there. Shorty will have heard those Boogie movements, and Shilin, they take him down.
This is to be expected when we keep 61 players alive up until like coming into the 5th circle. It is absolutely wild. La Familia's out. We didn't even get a chance to see what happened to them. And if you just look at the kill feed, players are dropping left and right. Teams are getting whittled down, and we don't even know. And Mega Power, they did indeed get crashed on. All Rejection Gaming with the entry beach. I believe it's a 3v3. I see one of All Rejection not yet making their way down completely. Probably the Overwatch player. But that blue zone is coming in. He's got to make a move on. Meanwhile, the rest of this team trying to take this close range engagement and take over Mega Power's position.
I kind of like that Overwatch play from All Rejection because it did allow the revive to get pulled off. Making that cross as a trio onto what you would presume to be a full squad is always going to be difficult. So I do appreciate that from All Rejection Gaming. The blue zone is closing in. Sosa has been able to move on forward. New generation go down. 12 teams are left up. Death Legion being put under pressure. Gold Touch on fire. And King Versi gets knocked. That's going to be the play. Mega Power, why aren't you being a little bit more aggressive on that? Now you should be. Logic's going to be pushing on forward. Bobby Gang gets knocked. One player left up. Sosa prone down, I believe, on the outside of the building. But Mega Power, I don't know how aware they are of that. They do need to move south into this phase 6 circle.
Mega Power circle is just so close next to them, but there is no cover over there. They're definitely going to have to use the vehicles. And now Sosa, though, Sosa just down to him. He's going to look to play spoiler. Mega Power have to be aware of this, but at the same time, we got teams rotating right in front of them. There's kills to be had everywhere right now. 32 alive.
Okay, X-Team. 2 players sent it. 2 players got taken down. Now Gold Touch is going to be a 3rd victim in play. Savage X from the defeaters. I told you, this Savage X guy, he's an absolute beast. He's a legend. But now Mega Power, they forgot about All Rejection Gaming, and they might pay the price. And knock from Fella got beautifully adjusted, but it's going to come down to this 1v1. DP20 at close range is not the best gun. He played at multiple clips, down to a couple of bullets. He's going to come in, the drop shot from Versi. But in the end, the last player of Mega Power saves the day. Is it going to be time wasted going for the revive? Might be able to play it out because you're on the slow side of the circle.
That 1v, that was a 2v3. They forgot about the knocked player, but the fight's not over yet. FTY right now just down to simple 1 person up. He's on that 2nd floor. He's got to watch out for the nades. Meanwhile, 4 Romanian boys just finished a fight with Respect, and the 4 Romanian boys took down Respect for that position. That's the nade I was talking about. Chi Lin coming in and now taking over that position. Chi Lin, by the way, 4 alive, and they have the watchtower control. This is looking like a really good end game for them.
Tipped up on the western edge. Looking good. Plenty of space in front of them. Very tricky ending to this game because not only does it involve open areas of the map, but you have the roads in play that really split this circle up and create isolated parts, like a pie chart, so to speak. I do like myself a bit of pie. Chilin saves this. Let's see if they can grab a bit of chicken to go on top of this pie, but the circle shifts away from them into the hands of Tip Top.
Oh, that circle shift. Imperium Tip Top is rejoicing right now. They were stuck at a shack. If the circle went anywhere else, they have no cover, and I'm sure the vehicles are taken out by now. We're down to 4 teams, and defeaters, Gotta give credit to them. They looked like they were in such a bad position earlier when they were getting raided by Entropic, but somehow, some way, they keep one alive. Savage X has made it into the top 4.
Savage X is a jack of all trades. He's a clutch master. I've seen it time and time again across the years of casting him. Such an immense talent. Now Tip Top. 3 players up. They have the circle. 4 Romanian boys. How are they going to push across the road? What condition are their vehicles in? They have those 4 players up, and Xiaomi are going to be the first to make the push. They send their vehicles on forward. Crank gets knocked down. It's an opening. Savage X, he's going to help this side of Tip Top get the majority of the Xiaomi players out of the lobby. Xiaomi presumed a little bit too much as Savage X comes up to bite them on board, but Playboy gets knocked down. Bo is knocked down as well. Wix followed on suit. Savage X is just picking them apart.
Savage X did make his presence known. We saw Gui right here with a grenade. That's a return grenade. Half HP. Last player alive right now for Xiaomi. We're down to a 1v1 between these 2 defeaters and Xiaomi. Meanwhile, 4 Romanian boys. You see it on the map. They're trying to make it in.
They are indeed, but Wix gets confirmed. Bo is going to go down, though. Tip Top, this is the perfect ending for them. All the other teams pick each other apart, and they're left as a trio. The smokes covering the area that 4 Romanian boys hold on to. If any one revive can be played out, that will add a little bit more of a glimmer of hope to the journey for 4 Romanian boys in game 1 of the finals. 1 player left up for Xiaomi. Another nade goes out by Killer. Continues the pressure on. I think Poco's left on his own. But oh my lord. So closely yet so far.
Question is, who can get 2nd place? Because Tip Top for sure is looking like they're going to secure that 1st place position. 4 Romanian boys and defeaters. Both down to just snakes. But Tip Top, they have their focus on 4 Romanian boys side of things.
And I think that could help Savage X because the focus is on Poco. Tip Top are aware. Look at him jumping up, trying to find the extra elevation. Poco stand back up. He has to go for the push. Credit where it's due, but the 3-man play comes in. The smoke can only hold you out for so long. 1v3 Tip Top. I asked a question right at the start of the broadcast. Are the likes of Tip Top, had they been holding things out in the group stage? I can't help but feel that despite only being game 1, the question has been answered. Tip Top stand on top. They stand tall in this game 1 of the finals. Just 1 more player in front of them. Savage X has done a wonderful job to get his team into 2nd as a solo player for the last 10 plus minutes of the game. He's been able to pick here, pick there, pick everywhere, distract a little bit of that. But now the clutch in a 1v3. Can he pull it off? I doubt it's going to come in, goes for the shots, but Killer gets a final blow and Tip Top win game 1.
Tip Top winning game 1 on the first day of the finals. If I'm not mistaken, they also won the first game on the first day of the PMCO group stage. So there's a little bit of a repeat history there. And not we talked about Tip Top in the beginning, but you also mentioned Xiaomi. These are the 2 teams that did really well in the beginning, and then they just really kind of fell off. And both Xiaomi and Tip Top, we saw them coming into the late game, making it there. Credit to where credit's due. I mean, Savage X, though, on the other hand, I thought Defeaters was going to be done for. They were on that eastern side. That hard shift came in, but they picked up so many points and 2nd place finish. Let's take a look at the match rankings to see after the first game where these teams ended up.
Yeah, Tip Top getting 21 points, 6 kills, Defeaters with 7. Very even in the points acquired, to be fair. Top 5 getting above 10 kills, but even then, FTY, despite bowing out with only 2 placement points, did get a relatively high amount of placement points to make it on 7. Not the start that they would have hoped for, but I think in retrospect, it's been a very even start for the PMCO finals.
Yeah, given that hard shift away from FTY, managing to pick up 7 points, that is pretty good. Rexpect also picking up points right there. We see 5 kill points, X Team 4 kill points. Honestly, the front page, you can tell these teams went down fighting, all being able to secure 4 or more kills, and that's 8 different teams able to get 4 or more kills.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the second page of things where there's going to be a few zeros. There has to be, with so many of the kill points being taken away from the first page.
That's true. Yeah, let's have a look at that second page. See what teams had a rough start to the PMCO finals. Last fight getting 4, the Noisy Boys getting 4. Only 2 teams with 0 points, to be fair. The Family are the most consistent team in the group stage. We hyped them up, getting 9 out of their 12 games with over 10 points. And they come into game 1 and they get 0.
Ooh, that is not a good start. I would almost say maybe Cast a Curse. La Familia. We didn't even get a chance to see
it's a bit harsh, mate.
They went. I mean, it is a bit harsh, but I'm pretty sure them getting 0 points also feels harsh. So we kind of might have to take a little bit of responsibility there, but not just La Familia and Tropic. Also, another team, the start of the game, they lose one player. So we're saying not a good start. They look a little bit shaky, and then they finish it off also with 0. Not just that, we saw how they went out too. They had a chance to take out the Feeders. The Feeders, by the way, right, ended up getting second place overall. Yep. That theoretically means if Entropic took advantage of that, took over the Feeders' position, did the same rotations they did, but as crazy as those rotations were, I don't think Savage X should have survived, but he did. That also means Entropic could have done the same, but they sent one player in by himself, got knocked and thirsted. Definitely not looking good.
Look, you know, before we go to break, I'll say this about any team. I'm aware that losing a player early on hurts your ability to be a little bit aggressive, to be a little bit controlling. But it shouldn't be the reason you're not. Entropic had every chance to be aggressive and controlling in that moment, in that position. They allowed themselves to be scared and they paid the price. And that can happen to any team. I hate seeing it happen, but it can happen. Will it happen in game 2? Most likely. We'll go to a break. We'll find out then. See you in a couple of minutes. Game one of the PMCO EU West Finals has finished. It was a well executed chicken dinner by Tip Top Gaming as the final couple of circles went in their favor. But one team that I want to talk about, highlight, that we didn't even really mention too much in the pre-show is 4 Romanian boys.
Mm-hmm.
They were one of the first teams to make it down in towards that edge of Milta area by the beachside, is on the south eastern edge of the city, and they took massive advantage of that, getting the highest amount of kills in the lobby. Very good game from them.
The fact that they ended that first match with the most amount of kills, and we didn't even get much screen time on them. It just goes to show how crazy that first game was, how much action there was just everywhere on the map. So yes, you heard it right. 4 Romanian boys, even though we didn't give them much screen time that last match, they ended up with the most amount of kills. I believe it was 9 kills. Yeah. And they also finished second overall with 19 points.
Yeah, I'm seriously constantly impressed by 4 Romanian boys. I've talked about it over the PMCO. This team has evolved massively over the last 2 or 3 months, and often when you have a team that isn't so experienced, but you can see clearly are looking to get better involved, they'll hit a bit of a brick wall or they'll stagnate for a little bit of a period of time, whereas this team has just been on the consistent rise. Whatever they're doing it right, and that deserves a lot of respect. Of course, they have to continue because these games have only just begun. Game 1 is finished. They have to continue that trend for the remaining games of today and onwards for the PMCO final. But it is nice to highlight them, and they deserve all the credit for how hard they've worked.
Yeah, I think every team, just the teams you're seeing competing right now, the 16 teams, I think all of them deserve some credit for them to make it here. We see some teams still struggling on the first match. It is only the first match, but they've had to show up multiple times in previous days to even get here. So let's not forget about that. True. And we're going to head into match number 2, right? In match number 2, it's the complete opposite of Erangel. We're going to get into Sanhok. Now, for Erangel, that first match is as you predicted. Very first game of the finals, very first day. Everybody played a bit more safe, a bit more passive. So it led to that chaotic ending on Erangel that we don't often get to see. Now, with Sanhok coming in, especially the first Sanhok of the match of the very first day of the finals, do you have any predictions as to what will happen? Are teams going to, play super passive again? Or is it going to be like a regular Sanhok type, where it plays out? What are your thoughts on that?
I can't help but feel it is still going to be a little bit more passive, but I hope it's going to be a normal Sanhok game. And if it's a normal Sanhok game based on what we've seen, and at least from a statistical standpoint, there's 3 teams I'm looking out for. Mega Power, the Noisy Boys, and Rexpect. Those 3 teams have the highest amount of points gathered from Sanhok in the group stage. What's even better is that it's all the same average points per game, 14.7 points per game. All 3 teams have acquired. The closest to them is X team with 12.7, but it's the fact that all 3 of those teams are on the same average points per game is pretty cool. So I'm hoping that if it's a little bit more normal, we'll see those 3 teams shine.
Okay, well, we're about to see. Even though that's their average, it's not possible for all 3 of those teams to hit that average in the same match. So one of those 3 might hit that average this game, which would be great for them coming into Sanhok. Now, we are moving on to Sanhok, and if I recall correctly, we've seen crazy circles on all the maps, almost all the different types of circles on Erangel, on Miramar. But on Sanhok, there's one circle we have yet to see. We saw a boot camp circle even in the group stage, but we have not seen that northwestern island mountaintop finish circle. And that circle it is a little bit rare, but
Yep.
it's actually, I would say, not too uncommon. So I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the finals we're gonna get that circle. And if we even get it this game, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna be excited to look to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of I call it the Chungus Mountain. Maxman hates when I call it that, but I'm a boomer, so I'm allowed to. You're dead right about that circle finish. It hasn't been featured overall in quite a while. Despite what you say about it being not too rare, I think with the algorithm of the map, it has shifted away from those kind of Northwest Island finishes. There was a period in time where we would like seven
See it
times
a
out of
lot.
10 see a Northwest Island finish. We would see it a lot, but I think it has shifted to kind of more central mainland finishes in Sanhok. So it'd be definitely refreshing to see that mountain finish on Sanhok, and it would obviously, I would argue, catch a few teams off guard because most teams do land in the mainland, right? And I'd be curious on how they would look to, you know, reposition, rotate, how quickly they would look to react to that kind of circle.
Yeah, that circle would definitely throw a wrench in things, especially since it's never happened yet for these teams. So it's completely new territory in terms of what teams will be fighting for what position in that circle. The one thing I'm most interested to see is how the defense works out for the team that takes the top. That mountaintop is notorious for teams getting run over from multiple angles, especially when it comes to lower level teams. But I've seen higher level teams, and I'm going to include myself in there. Team Execute, we drop on that northwestern island, and every time the circle ends up there, we hold down the entire top and make sure nobody can press in. But that takes really good map knowledge that I'm curious to see if PMCO teams have under their belt.
And seeing as you have experience, what kind of formation are you looking for roughly, without obviously having the map on our screens? What kind of rough, positioning? Should it be all four players separated? Should they have a 2-2 split?
Yeah.
What would you be ideally looking for?
There is a way to 1-1-1-1 split, like 4 players all separated at the top of that mountain. You have to make sure you're in the correct angles, though, in the correct spots, but it is possible to hold down that entire top, even when the circle is closing in on top of it. And we've had one of those circles in PMGC last year. It's a little bit too late for the teams to jump back in VOD review to figure out exactly what we did, but I've seen, we did it at the PMGC level. I've seen other teams do it just as well, so it is possible. But I feel like we're talking a little bit too much. Chances are we're not even gonna get that circle. I'm trying to reverse jinx this. Hopefully it works, Imperium.
You know what? I respect that. Another kind of circle I would like to see, because I'm a bit sadistic, is a Painan finish. I absolutely love Painan because I think it's a little bit more intriguing compared to Boot Camp, because you have the two sides of the river, and I really think a team that controls a Painan area finish, or even a Painan area that involves kind of 3 to 4 teams, really benefits from that, because you have the two sides of the river, and if you're able to flank across, etc., etc. So I would love to see that. But I also love to see the fantastic Xiaomi Redmi Note 10. You yourself can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the sponsors of the PMCO EU West. We talked about the circles, talked about some expectations. I've given stats. Now it's up to the teams to really kind of make their mark in this first Sanhok game of the finals.
All right, we've definitely talked the talk, but now we're going to leave it to the teams to do the action, to do the dirty work that is, has to be done.
I thought you were going to say walk the walk, by the way. I thought you were going to say teams walk the walk.
Talk the talk. Oh, that's what I was missing. Talk the talk. That's the words I was looking for. Slipped my mind. But let's get into the playing path. Let's see what these teams do, and let's see how the teams walk the walk.
Nice recovery,
Oh
man.
man,
Nice
dude.
recovery. I'll give you that one.
I knew there was a saying after talk the talk. I was looking for it in my brain, but it just didn't happen. But thank you. Yes, walk the walk. That's the other one. Speaking about walk the walk, we're flying right now as these other members are flying the flying, and now they're dropping the dropping. I'm just completely just butchering myself at this point. But the plane path diagonal, pretty good plane path. Not exactly in the center, but center enough that everybody should be able to get to where they want to go. Of course, Mega Power taking that central position. X Team landing just south of
Yes.
that. 4 Romanian boys and Painan. We might see 2 teams in Paradise, but I do believe one team is just going to stretch a bit further. Yeah, everything's looking just peachy. Might have one early fight, but yeah, everyone looks like they're good to go. They're good to loot, and they're good to wait for the first circle, see where it goes.
Interesting where I expect Broody Boy going onto the mainland, Cavier, loot up on his own. I like it because I think it allows him to maybe get a little bit of early information, possibly to help prepare the rest of his team based on where this phase 1 goes. Daus Legion are in a little bit of a risk. Normally they go to Tap Mock, but they have a really big split. Sava and Omdatati are on the coastline of the mainland. You have Simple away from Tapmock, and then you have the last player that's basically kind of in between all rejection defeaters and the Noisy Boys.
Yeah, he's looking a little bit lost over there in the northeast. 4 teams surrounding him. Honestly, if he finds a vehicle right there, he should just take it and just drive straight back to his team before these teams finish looting and start rotating. But the circle, we are not getting that northwestern circle finish that we ever so prayed for, but we do get a southern circle, and there's a chance it can be a Painan finish, as Painan is pretty central on that first circle.
And to be fair, a southwestern island finish isn't as common either, so I would like to see it end around the Sami area, because I really think that mountainside north of Sami is a fantastic place to control, and I'd love to see how teams deal with it when we get into phase 5, phase 6. So I'm a big fan of this phase 1, despite the idea of a mountain finish being pretty salivating, to say the least. I love your point also about Daus Legion, that 4th player on his own looking to join up, but it seems like he's running there on foot. It's going to slow down their rotation. However, Daus Legion have always been known as a team in Sanhok to stay in the blue for the first 3 or 4 phases. They will rotate super late into these circles. So this phase 1 is pretty complementary to their playstyle.
Yeah, I wonder if any teams is gonna elect to do a boatation, because this circle on the southwest, it does stretch far enough where much of the water is in zone. Now, I'm not saying a boatation is gonna get you the next zone, but it's far deep enough where you can potentially boatate to one end, travel just a little bit inwards on the land, and you'll find yourself pretty center of the first circle. So I'm looking mainly at the teams on the northeast, right? They can do a boatation, or they're going to have to rotate in on the congested side, the eastern side of the circle, because that's where a lot of these teams are going to end up bunching up as the circles keep shifting.
I'm a big fan of boatations. I love myself a boat movement from these teams. Oh, yes, indeed. The captain of the ship with your binoculars looking out across the sea. I love to see it. But in this kind of circle, if any of the teams have done their due diligence of research on where the rest of the teams drop, I would argue that it's a bad call to make a boatation, simply because of the fact that FTY, they're a heavy-hitting team. They drop by the coastal line. You have Tip Top, and yes, they might not predominantly be looking out the coastal line, but to me, it's not worth the risk based on the teams that drop on the coastal line of the Southwest Island.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we never know until a team pulls it out. And speaking about
of course,
TikTok,
mate, of course,
right here, at the tippy top of that mountain you were talking about. This is the mountain that Imperium was talking about, just northeast of Xiaomi. And Stupid Pig on top of the little, what would you even call that? The watchtower?
Sniper tower.
Would you call that a watchtower?
It's
sniper tower.
It's sniper tower, watchtower. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Rex drive up there, but I think they figured out that there is someone up there, so they immediately rotated back at the compound. Now this area is pretty central. That's why we're seeing so many teams on screen just getting closer to each other, and pretty typical when you try to get center. You see an enemy player, or you make that contact, and you immediately back off. And it's not because they're scared to fight, but it's because if you fight near center circle, that team that's a little bit off center hears those gunshots in front of them. They're going to want to take advantage. They're going to want to get more center, and you could easily get third parties. So teams just backing off from each other, kind of claiming their ground, claiming their territory.
Yeah.
And it's going to wait until the next circle, until the fights start breaking out.
But that's where I think New Generation, it can be unfortunate timing, but they did miss the opportunity to get on top of that hill ahead of Respect. And as they move down, although I agree with disengaging, it does still put them at risk of, let's say, getting third party by a team on the mainland, like maybe in Tropic, because they are on that river side down the hill. Be interesting to see how they'll deal with that. 4 Romanian boys staying in Painan do get a knock and a kill onto one of the Cypher skill players. But Respect Pappy doing a great job of pushing forward onto New Generation.
Wow, Respect was actually at the buildings just to the west. They were down in that valley at the building. They could easily just chill at the compounds, as it was a strong position. But they full committed the push up the hill before the first knock even came out. We saw the first knock just recently come out. Rex looking like a completely different, confident team. Their weakest point was always their close range, and this being Sanhok, they know this push is going to lead to a close range fight, but they are confident as ever. 4v3 situation. They're forcing New Generation all the way back down the hilltop.
See, they know that it's only phase 1, and despite a number of teams heading toward the centered circle, this is the time in the game where you're less likely to get third party. That's a fantastic double push either side of that rock by Respect. On one hand, I definitely see where you're coming from, but once again, let's be fair. Sanhok is Respect's best map. We shouldn't really be surprised of their performance so far in this game, in this map.
I gotta be honest, I am surprised though, because we have not seen the circle over here.
I like that.
I have not seen Respect play that compound, and almost any other team, I would dare say, would just stay in those compounds and wait for the circle shift, but they pushed uphill.
They're pushing.
Now they're pushing downhill to finish this off, but of course, now there's that third party, right? You let the gunshots ring out too much, the third team will show up.
Maybe your head is getting a little bit too big. Rudy boys knocked down by Red X. Beautiful turnaround. Pappy's gonna come in and at least slow things down for New Generation. Gets a knock on the bangs, and they pre-cooked up. Red X knows that his time is out, but the third party comes in, and that's gonna be Respect eliminated. They bit off more than they could chew. Sorry for skill. Gives a glimmer of hope to New Generation, but in between the planks, you're going to be walking the plank back to the lobby. New Generation go out.
Sorry for skill. Definitely getting a little bit blessed there with those kills. We saw 4 Romanian boys chilling in Painan, taking down 2 of their players. But I love that you're down to 2, but they're not scared to third party. If anything, when you're down to 2 players, you don't play passive. You look for those third parties, because that's probably one of the biggest advantages you'll get at that point with so little amount of players. But that's Respect and New Generation out. I like the push by Respect. It is a 4v2 after all. If they cleaned up the push a little bit, pushed from the same direction, didn't wrap around too much and run into that third party, they could have easily picked up 2 more kills and still be 4 alive. But let's head on into that second circle shift, and it does central up quite nicely, and Painan dead smack in the center now.
If my wish comes true. Tricky shift for these teams. Yes, it's away from a lot of the water. Again, the river, mainland, Southwest Island. It becomes hard to commit to one area of the map in a confident way. Have to look to pull it off. Zombie down to about 20 health, I believe, by mega power, but they get away with it for the time being. I did notice the cluster teams on that kind of northwestern side of the circle. The Familia, Last Fight, and FTY hovering around now the edge of the circle.
Yeah, everyone's congested on the northwest because no one was expecting the circle to hard shift back towards the east. Now the east side of the map has a huge opening for teams to take over, but I don't think anyone's moving anytime soon. They're kind of locked in, so to say, on Sanhok because you don't get free rotations. You don't have those vehicles. You don't have those pathings that you would in other maps. So west side of the circle, they're just bound by fate to engage, and it is going to get messy.
By the way, a team did go for a rotation over Rejection Gaming. They did go for it. But because of the circle shifting back over to the east, they've had to kind of abandon ship and come into the south edge of the circle just outside Camp Charlie. Unfortunately for them, Shilin is close by. Shilin aren't really going to be looking in their direction, possibly, but also all Rejection Gaming aren't really going to know that a team is there. Who's going to spot each other first?
Oh, I wish Shilin will just peek over that mountaintop, but they honestly have no reason to. You would not expect a team down there in Shilin. They're going to prioritize their rotation. No one took that peek, but I bet you if they did, the first things out of their mouths is like, there's people down here. Free kills. All Rejection Gaming, though. Oh, they got a lucky break. It could have been very bad for them, but this could play out in the future circles. All Rejection Gaming could sneak up behind Shilin now because Shilin has no idea that there is a team very close by on their backside.
Are 4 Romanian boys taking too much of a risk by staying in Painan on that phase 2 shift? Should they have rotated up to the north Painan Hill on the mainland?
I don't think so. I mean, you either commit to Painan or you commit to one of the hills. It's really difficult to hold a split between Painan and the hills, and they've decided to just take Painan. I've seen teams sit in Painan, and once the circles, shift off Painan, it happens in a way where any mountaintop gets super contested from multiple sides, and a team that moves out of Painan together can take advantage of the chaos and kind of spearhead their way up to a mountaintop. Very rarely can a team just sit on top of a mountain, be it south or north of Painan, and full focus the team coming out because they're going to be dealing with a lot of teams all around them. So I think that is for Romanian boy strategy here.
Okay. Definitely interesting. Mega Powers being put under pressure by Last Fight. An initial knock. FTY also into the mix. Rex confirmed up. Nicely played by Last Fight. I like to see teams and players being able to kind of really confirm those kills early on into a knock. Allows you to focus on where the rest of the team are, but Last Fight need to be careful of a third party. A phase 3 shift was massive.
Same shift to the northeast. Now, I think now would be a good time for 4 Romanian boys to maybe move up, but they're probably thinking it's already taken by now. There's no way that mountaintop is clear, empty, but then again, they don't have spectator POV like we do.
Yeah, the Noisy Boys definitely taking advantage of that rotation. They hung around the trifecta hillside and trifecta compound between kind of this phase 2 and phase 3, so they're gonna have an easy rotation. X team are under pressure from 4 Romanian boys. I like the fact that 4 Romanian boys have actually committed to all 4 players on the southern half of Painan because they recognize that it might be a better chance for them to gatekeep teams on the southern edge of the circle as opposed to trying to get control in the North Hill.
Yeah, with that circle shift, everybody's rotating in from the south to west, right? Nobody's going to be rotating in from that northeast because they'd be in zone. X team right now. This player is so separated from his team. Manages to pick up one, though. His teammate does have some sort of overwatch position on top of that hilltop, but Tip Top 4 up right next to him. Yeah, he's got to switch positions. It is looking risky for him, and he's got no meds, just painkillers and energy drinks.
Gotta give him credit for that, to be fair, and I even credit to Tip Top because I know, despite another nade knocking them down, that they can't overstep their mark out that building. That the cover is there. CPDD is under the pressure himself. Another nade comes through. Psyox is single-handedly running rings around the players from Tip Top. That's beautiful.
The grenades coming out like homing missiles right now. I would still trade a grenade for a first aid kit, though, if I was Xiox. I mean, he's full boosted. But 1 HP, that's going to take a couple of seconds to get back to full. I don't think he's pushing anytime soon, though. He's just going to lay low, chill there. Maybe look for a third-party opportunity if another team pushes. But Tip Top, they're taking matters into their own hands now. They want to clear out this player that's giving them so much trouble.
Psyox being pushed upon, and that's going to be the big play from Tip Top. They got all 4 players back up, and they do make a count. FTY looking for a bit of a opportunistic play and engagement onto Tip Top. The Familia had 0 points in game 1. They push into the edge of Painan, looking to overtake 4 Romanian boys compound. They've at least opened the door a little bit by getting an initial knock, and they've sent 4 Romanian boys packing. I appreciate that from 4 Romanian boys. They lost Bright, so why stay where they're technically not welcome anymore? Better off to move away.
With this next circle shift coming out and shifting away from Painan, they really do need to move out. La Familia, I'm surprised they managed to breach into Painan when we were just talking about how 4 Romanian boys was shifting their entire defense to the south. It must have been an amazing knock coming out of La Familia. Very well done by them. Really bad game 1, but breaching into Painan against 4 Romanian boys, I think they're looking in way better shape and form coming into this Sanhok match.
Beautiful positions by FTY, covering behind, covering in front. Zodox did a wonderful job getting an initial knock, but now the rest of the team need to recognize that time's ticking. You need to close out these 5. Biscay, we saw what he could do in the group stages, continuing in the finals. He's been able to pick up 1 kill, 2 players knocked from last fight. Sarah having to pull out a first aid. Reki is around there, but don't know how long they're going to be able to deal with the brunt of the blue. And Zodox from FTY standing his ground. He could be the sacrificial lamb, to be fair, while the rest of FTY focusing on carving any kind of position in the edge of this phase 4 circle.
I 100% agree. I would not be surprised if that was a call to play out. Like, you guys go ahead. I'm going to make sure this team does not backstab us. Zodox, not only is he keeping one team away, but he's picking up confirmed kill points. He has that advantage from the high ground. It's
important that he does.
Really laying it in. And FTY, they have a fight in front of them. So if Zodox leaves this position, they have to fight in front of them and behind them. But Zodox keeps a 4-man team away from his positioning alone and picking up kill points. So very well done by FTY. I like this teamwork coming out from the team, even though Zodox isn't necessarily with the team.
Simple goes down, by the way, so 4 Romanian boys, that spread is working out for them. The bridge is going to be full of the trolls and the family and Tip Top, and Nightmare from X Team. Azara of the Noisy Boys get to knock onto one of the Mega Power players. That's an isolated fight between those 2 teams, so hopefully we'll be able to see that played out. Kill feed is lining up as Shorsh of Entropic gets a nice knock. The circle centers up away from none of these teams. 4 Romanian boys closest by. We do lose the last player from last fight.
Zodox manages to find all 4 eventually. He was hunting, and he picked up that 4-piece. Great job out of FTY. And you can see the rest of FTY, they're trying to fight their way in, and it's not looking good regardless. So this, to keep one player back and secure 4 points, that is huge. Now, Tip Top, troll underneath the bridge, Evil Boy, another troll, It's a standoff. It's a 1v1, but it's not looking like anything's going to happen as the blue zone is closing on both of these players.
That's Legion taken out by Entropic. Nice to see that. That's Legion stayed in the blue for quite a while. They paid the price a little bit too long with those circles. Just Crank from Sheilin is kill stratting, by the way, is killer. Takes down the last player, La Familia. 10 teams left. 19 players we're down to on phase 5. Make that 18 players. 9 teams as tip top go down. Nightmare from X team being able to stay alive. 4 Romanian boys still up as a 2-person team. Defeaters still in the game. Second place in game 1. Defeaters looking for another good result to kick off their PMCO finals run.
The Noisy Boys controlling the strongest position left on the map, the only high ground, the mountaintop. It is a sprawling hilltop, so they're playing it very careful as Mega Power still have 2 up. They could easily get knocked in Thursday Kira, and with 4 alive, they do not want to lose that advantage, so they're moving it slowly, and there we go. Noisy Boys takes a shot. Now they are a king of the hill, so to say, and that circle shift does end up on top of the hill. This is looking really nice for the Noisy Boys.
It was great use of the underside of the hill as well to be able to peek up and shoot up and thread with caution. And Tropic go down. We're down to our last 16. Savage X knocked big for Mercy. Former teammate of Savage X stabbed right in the heart. A little bit of rivalry ensues, but nothing but respect between these two teams, to be fair. Biscay from FTY staying alive in the dead of night. 11 teams left. Defeaters with 5 kills.
Defeaters has 5. 4 remaining boys, just like game number 1. They are focusing on those kill points. 7 points, 2 up, but everybody else is on the low ground. Even if they manage to get into the circle with the next shift, with the control that the Noisy Boys have, it is not looking good for anyone else but the Noisy Boys. And I would even say for the Noisy Boys, with 4 up, they should get a little bit aggressive. Get those kills.
Yeah, but Nightmare comes in to give 4 Romanian boys a little bit of space. Not enough time to get first aid off. Nightmare goes down. Gives an opening for 4 Romanian boys to come in and crash onto the wonderful world of Defeaters in style. Let's even get the final kill. Look to play it on in. The counter comes in. Not enough. 4 Romanian boys. They come out on top. Hey, opportunity comes a cropping. Your door is a knocking. 4 Romanian boys. Well played.
It is as I predicted, right? 4 remaining boys, they do the pine-on strategy, and once the chaos breaks out too much, if it shifts to either hill towards the west or the east here, there's a way for them to spearhead their way in, and just like I predicted, it is exactly the strat they do, but it's not easy, and they pulled it off, so great job to 4 Romanian boys. Sheilin, of course, still alive, healing out in the blue zone.
Look, you know, I can appreciate a good heal strat. They were stuck on the edge of the circle in the blue, encountering Death Legion earlier on, so they were forced to maybe pull out something different. Similar to Biscay of FTY, to be fair, however, a little bit more action-packed for him in the lead-up to the heal strat being executed. But the spread from 4 Romanian, from the Noisy Boys, should I say, is absolutely wonderful. Redox not being spotted. The 1v2 play. Mazzaro comes in, opens up, nicely done. It's actually Crank for Sheilin. However, he gets taken out. Redox spots the last one alive. He gets taken out. And the Noisy Boys, they take game 2 in Sanhok.
The Noisy Boys making some noise on top of that mountain. Oh, man, what a crazy series of shifts. It started in the southwest for the first circle. And then it just went towards the east every single circle shift. I don't think it went back any other direction at any point in the game. So for Romanian boys, they didn't get that chicken, but staying in Painan, picking up those kills, racked up a huge, and they actually tied in points with the Noisy Boys who did get the chicken dinners. Both teams, if I saw correctly, finished it off with 20 points. And Sheilin, he was medding for a long time. But hold on, let's move on to the match rankings. Let's see how many points Sheilin actually got with the med strat. They only had 2 kill points, but a 3rd place finish. That's still really good as far as placement points are concerned.
It was a recovery, to be fair. A recovery game from Sheehan because only 3 kills, played out 13 in total. Top 5 teams, once again, getting double-digit points. And Tropic, credit where it's due, a solid bounce back, 7 much-needed points. However, for Minion Boys, it's kind of that consistency, right? Game 1, they got 19 points. Game 2, 20 points. It's a big, big plus on their finals run.
Yeah, game 1, 9 kills. Game 2, 8 kills. So they're sticking to their gun power. It is working quite well for them. And I was saying with Lin, I think the reason they managed to med strat for so long is because they ran into Dallas Legion. We didn't see it on broadcast because Dallas Legion was nowhere close to anybody. They were actually looting in the blue zone for like 5 circles. Like, no cap. I took a look at my mini map every once in a while, and they were in the blue. Yeah. So they picked up so much meds. Their strategy coming into Sanhok when the circle's far away is don't even bother with it. We're just going to look for the meds. And Lin got into engagement with them at some point. Lin came out on top, like you said. And Lin, he picked up all of those med kits and managed to, hey, may as well make use of it. We're just going to do the strategy that they've been doing for us.
And, you know, the Noisy Boys, they came into this game with the highest amount of ice average points in Sanhok in the group stage, so it makes sense that they came out on top here. So well played to them. 9th to 16th, Death Legion with 5 points. Played out La Familia. Not looking the healthiest. Yes, it's 4 points, so it's something on the board, but when you have a 0-pointer in game 1 and followed by only a 4-pointer, based on, again, it's kind of, maybe it's more based on the fact that we had such high hopes for them coming from the group stage. I'm a little bit like, what happened to you guys? What happened? But it's early days.
It is early days. It is definitely too early to say, but maybe, just maybe, right? Their consistency is shown through when they were able to, do well when there were weaker teams in the lobby and manage to just stay afloat when there were stronger teams in the lobby. But now that it is only strong teams in the lobby, because it is the top 16 out of the 32, that consistency is harder for them to pull off. But I'll stop myself now. I don't want to talk about consistency when we're only 1 day in and 2 games in. We still have so many days left. We still have so many games. Consistency through. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, it kind of matches what Packy98 said to me in terms of, he did say he was nervous enough for the finals, and being nervous is sometimes a good thing. I'm nervous before I start casting, of course. It's what you do with those nerves. You can allow them to get the better of you, right? Or you can kind of turn it into something more. You can use it to turn it into determination, focus, aggression. It's how you really use that natural feeling of a bit of a big moment on board. So the nerves probably getting the better of Packy98 and the whole of the team, because if it starts at the IGL, as much as it, I give him credit for admitting that he's nervous, if it starts at the IGL, it can trickle down to the rest of the team, because it might come across in terms of communication where they're not sure. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. So it's important that he kind of regathers his thoughts, takes away the nerves, and gets into it on these remaining 2 games.
I agree with that. If the lead voice is shaky, it doesn't really lead way for the rest of the team to feel more confident. But let's see. We got a short little break coming up. We're going to go on to Miramar in the next match, and maybe those nerves will calm down just a little bit. But we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
And we are back. 2 games down, 2 to go, and day 1 of the PMCO EUS finals with myself, Imperium, and of course Zute. That game 2, the one thing I can say about the circles, Zute, is that they were consistent. At least there was not so much of a ping pong, but definitely those kind of constant shifts to the east was a little bit unexpected. But let's go to the overall standings real quickly because the game is loading in.
Yeah, so here we have the first page, a massive difference between first and eighth right now, but that's to be expected with only 2 games done. One thing I didn't expect, though, and I questioned it, would one of the teams, like 4 Romanian boys, be able to pick up those kills that they did so in the PMCO group stage? 17 kills in 2 games already. That is looking really good for them.
Yeah, it is. It's looking really good indeed. Let's move on to the second half again. We're getting into this game 3 today really quickly. Respect, middle of the pack, 9 points. Good start. Poor game 2 and 4. Well, actually, no, it wasn't a bad game 2 to be fair. It was a poor game 1 more than anything. Entropic, 7 points. Oh, Rejection Gaming. Only 2 points in 2 games. So the family, yeah. Let's see if they can bounce it back in this third game. It's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. A very, very different map we're heading on to in the wonderful world of Miramar. Just like you can get your hands on a very different but wonderful and ever beautiful Xiaomi phone. Enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the sponsors of the PMCO EU West. Compared to Sanhok, there's obviously more space on the map. But I think it's safe to say it's always about what you do with that space on the map and how these teams are really going to use that to their advantage.
Yeah, so Miramar, polar opposite. We have so many different sight lines, so many mountaintops and ridges. Now that we're down to the best of the 32 PMCO teams, let's see how these teams play out Sanhok, or not Sanhok, Miramar in this lobby. Let's head into the playing. Let's move on to Miramar.
This is your captain speaking. We're currently flying over Torre Almada, a wonderful place on the northern side of the map, and we're heading right into Pathlines of Los Higos. It's a pretty central playing path, Zute, so the teams will not be complaining about this one.
Very central playing path. I was expecting something a little more wild for the first day of Miramar, but everyone should be able to land safely. We haven't seen any hot drops yet. This playing path definitely does not or should not lead to any heavy contesting. So we'll get a nice, slow, easy start onto this Miramar match. The only thing I'm looking for now is that first circle. Even though the playing path is pretty good for everyone, that first circle that pops up on the map can really dictate the first rotations and where teams want to be at.
Defeater's going to head to Impala. Beautiful playing path for them in their drop spot. Quite quick to get to it. The early droppers of Respect over Rejection Gaming and Tip Top, they're going to have to take kind of big advantage of that, right? Because they're going to be able to loot up a little bit earlier compared to teams more and towards the kind of Picado, Los Leones area. Phase 1. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Like that's a work of art in a phase 1 circle.
Yeah. I could not have drawn that better myself. It is such a nice circle that I don't even know what to say about it.
We're kind of speechless, aren't we? Yeah, we're kind of speechless. We're used to kind of highlighting a hardship of a phase 1, but this is like, can we just take a moment and appreciate this phase 1 circle? Nice.
Yeah. Dallas Legion going for a little bit of a jog, get the blood pumping. Always good warm up for, before a game really starts breaking out. And I'm not even joking. Like, back when I was competing, if you felt nervous or like your hands were shaky, get that blood going. Like, do some push-ups, do a light jog.
Okay,
helps
fair
you calm
enough.
your mind.
Fair enough.
And Dallas Legion, you know,
That's
after
fair
that
enough.
Sanhok match and they lost all their med kits to Chi Lin, you don't feel happy about that. You know, get that frustration out. Go for a little bit of a jog. And that's what they did. And now they found their car. They're heading to Lock Hobart area to loot. And I'm talking so much about that little, you know, stint that Dallas Legion went on because I don't know what else to say, man. The circle is as perfect as can be. Nothing special about it to really point out. And with the playing path, everybody's kind of just in zone chilling already.
Yeah, everybody's just chilling, looting up, and of course, how they do react to this kind of nice circle and set themselves up is still going to be important. So, for example, the Noisy Boys are in Hacienda. Sorry, San Martin, should I say. Great. I'd imagine they will rotate down south up to the mountain and overlook the Picado area, because that'll give them a lot of information towards the central area of the circle. Whereas last fight, if they know, and they should know, that the Noisy Boys go to San Martin, what kind of rotational path would you like to see them pull off? Should they rotate a little bit quicker and go towards the kind of side of the hill ahead of the Noisy Boys and look to stop them? Or what's last fight's play in their current drop spot?
So last fight's currently in Minas Generalis. If I recall correctly, they like to do that one rotation. That was a completely different circle, right? But they would rotate down the road La Bendita and sweep into Las Leones.
Wait. La Familia are in Minas Generalis. Last fighter in Hacienda.
Oh, my mistake. It's the LF.
It's cool.
The LFs.
Yeah, I know.
La Familia. Okay,
yep.
They are LFX. Okay. So this team on screen, last fight. Okay, your question is making a lot more sense now. They should just take the road down, right? Because the Noisy Boys are going to go the other way, so they could just go straight down the road, head up. I mean, they're actually already down that way. They're 2-2 split. One of the last fight members, you don't see them on screen, but they're about to get into a fight with Sorry for Skill on the east side of Picado.
Yeah, I don't mind a 2-2 split on that kind of, you know, on a rotation, but when it's that far apart and you're sending two players deep into the kind of central area of the circle, there's a bit of risk involved. I know it's only phase one. Sorry for Skill, I gotta give them credit because they were split pretty massively on their drop spot, going for that kind of classic Miramar split drop. But based on the phase circle being so heavily into their drop area, they joined up as a full squad pretty quickly, and now they might be able to pick off one of the last five players. Shots are being fired up by Susho. He gets out of the minivan, looks to send Sorry for Skill back and protect his area. For the time being, he does protect it.
Susho with a very big job on the team. He rotated ahead of his team like 2 minutes in advance, went for a central spot in the zone, and is making as much noise as he can. You see this now. He's taking shots that aren't likely to connect, but that's because he's by himself and he's trying to make as much presence as he can to push teams or push teams away. Yeah, for the rest of his team to rotate in. The rest of his team still just barely making it down the road of Hacienda.
Yeah, I would say the rest of the team's rotation is kind of slow. That's one thing I would say that could be executed a little bit better. Mega Power still in Pachinki. Curious how long they're going to stay there for. The Noisy Boys have made their way onto the hill of San Martin, overlooking Picado, and I said they were a little bit late on their rotation. They paid the price. One player knocked. Sarah is very heavily pinched, prone down behind that tree. Maybe Reki can cover to allow a disengagement, but I doubt Sarah's getting away with that.
This is what happens when you rotate split. You don't know what's clear. You don't know what's taken. Last fight, deciding to rotate next to Picado because earlier they saw
would you
members
rotate
on
so
top of the hill.
close to it as well? Yeah, but why would you rotate so close to it?
They just thought there was a team on top of the entry point of the mountaintop.
Maybe
because that's where Susho last
they
saw
thought
the
it was
team.
Mega Power. yeah, maybe they thought it was Mega Power coming from Mikado.
Potentially. Well, this is what happens when you rotate split. Things get a little bit dicey. It looks like they are able to save at least 2 of the members. The other 2 kind of pinned down there with no cars. And last fight, that is La Familia coming up over the top now. Now that last fight is split at a 2-2, but a ineffective 2-2 split. I wonder if they can hold this defense, but it is a strong spot. They might be able to do it with just 2 players here.
Zute, you don't have your preference, but you're like, well, just one of these LF teams go out of the lobby so I don't make a mistake. Please just take each other out so I don't have to think about which LF is which.
Yeah. That would be nice.
You know, I know, right? Look, this phase 1 is really overall passive. I'm kind of surprised you've seen as much early game action as we have. A few players knocked here and there, but nobody taken out for the time being. Douse Legion's still in the blue of this phase 1. So are Chilin, but they're on a bit of a weird split. While Respect and All Rejection Gaming very close to each other.
Ooh. That is a hard shift of hard shift down south, and you could quite literally see the white line of that circle is touching the blue. So that is as hard south as you can possibly go. Now, all of these teams, they got to adjust for it, and Mega Power, who was once in the middle of the circle, all of a sudden, they're surrounded by enemy teams, and they got such a long way to go to get anywhere close to central. And I know Mega Power, they like that rotation. They like being centered. That's why they dropped Picado. They must be moaning and groaning off of that circle shift.
I'm going to low-key disagree, because I think it's one thing being in the center of the circle, but there's another thing being in the center of the circle in Picado. I think that's a completely different beast. So I think this type of shift, although it does put them under pressure from a rotational standpoint, I overall think it's better for them. I could be wrong. I could very much be wrong, but that's at least my viewpoint on it. I'm a little bit disappointed with Respect and how slow they were to rotate. On this phase 1, I highlighted them in All Rejection Gaming and how they needed to take advantage of the fact that they were to the teams to first drop. Therefore, they should be two of the first teams to loot, and technically two of the first teams to move, but they stay on the edge of the circle. That's a bit of an F from both sides, but Respect lost a player. Mega Power move away from Picado, but they don't move far, which makes sense.
And they don't move too far because they're actually kind of pinned in by 2 different teams. They have X team down to their south and the Noisy Boys up to their north. That's what I was saying. With that hardship, Mega Power, they want to get more central, but they can't because it's shifted so hard down to the south, and teams that were central previous are just kind of hovering around them now. But that doesn't mean they're in a bad position by any means. We're still early into the game.
Yep.
Mega Power, they don't succeed by just being in the middle of the circle, right? No team can really just make that their priority and get away with it because there's so much involved with the RNG of the shifts. Mega Power, I'm sure they could still fight their way out. Shilin, on the other hand, rotating in from the northwest from inside the blue. You can see that zone ticking, that damage crank boosted, but just slowly losing health. These guys really have to get a move on. Miramar, you might think the circles don't hurt, and they don't too much, but it's the distance that you have to cover that really does you in.
Yeah. Man, Gold Touch with the Car 98. Fantastic. He got one knock onto FTY, another one on Desire for Skill. Putting in the work with the bolt action. Gun type rarely kind of seen heavily or effectively used in competitive simply because of the fact that it's just not so heavily in the meta. Overrejection Gaming moving around on towards the eastern side of the circle. For the most part ahead of Respect, although Bardo is in the circle, so an anchor point has been secured. Oh wow, man. Okay, that's a hard shift. That's a Big boy hard shoot. That's 2 hard shoots in a row, Zute.
That's another one. That is what? Whew. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice
I know, right?
plane path, nice first circle, and then the rest of the game is just complete chaos, right? It's just
Yep.
wow.
That's
Okay,
why
well,
I said take a moment to enjoy that phase 1, because I was like, it won't last for long.
yeah. The one thing to take note of that circle, though, the high ground, the mountaintops, so much high ground. Like 70% of the map at that point is just mountaintops. It is going to be so difficult for teams to make their way up there. We're going to see a lot of teams probably just stuck near the bottoms with smokes trying to survive the punishment from up top. We're going to see 1 or 2 teams really contest for that spot up top early on because they can get up there. But which team is really going to hold it down? We have yet to see. FTY, though, they do manage to get central on top of one of the mountains. Let's see if they'll manage to keep the kills up from that position.
Great rotation by Entropic. They, on the first 2 circles, were on the kind of western edge of Los Leones, so they did have the high ground visibility, but they've moved fairly early in this phase 3, and it's not something they do that they're known to do, in my opinion. So the fact that they've executed as a full squad together is good, really good for me. The feeders also pulling out a great rotation, a little bit similar, but they stuck to more of a southeastern edge because they dropped in Impala. Well, sorry for Skill trying to move away on the road of Los Leones. You expect close by to him. Tip Top sending them packing. One of the players gets knocked down. That's Besso going down to his knees.
Oh, man. I'm still watching my mini-map right now, and the rotations are looking rough for so many teams. They forced to crash into each other with how many hardships there has been, and the fact that it keeps on going south. It's looking like the Sanhok chaos that we saw just the last game, but this time it's Miramar. It's a completely different beast.
You have a last fight, Mega Power, Beg for the Noisy Boys and Sheilin all in a cluster southwestern edge of the circle, so all hell is gonna break loose there soon enough while the Blues on the phase 3 grows ever closer to a phase 4. There you go, you can see Sheilin Crank going down at a vehicle blowing up once again. Last fight, knocked down Beg for Mercy, who was away from the rest of his team and pays a price. Bit of a third party pulls that one on board. Last fight, we're under a bit of pressure earlier on at the hands of Mega Power, but they've been able to recover accordingly. Now Douse Legion has X-Team in front of them. The next circle centers up. They're close to the edge on the north because it was a bit of a northern shift, to be fair. If they don't focus and take down this team quickly enough, they're going to lose any kind of stranglehold in the next circle.
X-Team struggling to get into zone now with Douse Legion just camping in front of them. At some point, you're right, though, they do have to make a move into zone before that spot gets taken. Mega Power in the kill feed. FTY just raining down Hellstorm on top of the mountaintop. They're the only team now that has the high ground. It's going to be king of the hill, so to say, for FTY. I already see many of the other teams electing to just stay alive in the low ground. Douse Legion finally decide to rotate to find their spot in zone. But you see it here, they might be a little bit too late as Mega Power shooting them from behind. They will get ahead of them and do find a nice little dip, but they do lose one member.
Yeah, probably could have pulled that rotation off a little bit earlier, but the fact that they've done it now and will maybe just lose one player in phase 4 blue of Miramar, I call that a win in my eyes. Provide maybe able to be pulled off Mega Power, not able to have the manpower in that moment. Logis, of course, is taken out, so down to 3 makes it a little bit harder to execute a kill. They've been dispersed away from the edge of the circle. X-Team are under their own little pressure. Turns their attention. Fella got with the Mini 14. Wonderful single tap shots with the help of Rete to grab a kill for themselves.
Great kill secure from distance there. They're going to need those kill points as they're still Not sure where they're going to head into zone. We're going to see this rotation come out now, but I'm looking at what's open in front of them. Pretty much everything is taken. Douse Legion, you're right. They did get that revive. Now they're 4 up at this hunkered down zone. Ooh, Mega Power. They're going to be shot at by a lot of teams on the way in.
It's not the safest for FTY. A number of teams around them now, last fight. X team. Very, very close. You have the last player, Sheila, by the way, in the dead center circle. Hoping he can pull out another victorious second place for himself. Sarah gets a knock on that. That's what I was talking about, kind of third partying coming into play of this Phase 4 Blue Zone.
This Blue Zone's going to eat Mega Power alive right now. They're still not yet in zone, and they've lost their vehicle. I was telling you, Mega Power is not happy with that shift. You see them struggling to navigate the edge of the circle. They are not a team that's comfortable or used to navigating in from the edge. That is not their strong point. So these circle shifts really doing them in. Meanwhile, FTY, they have condensed up at the top as multiple teams are looking to take the high ground. So good job by FTY to adjust their defense. And the next circle is coming out, and it shifts up to the north. And 4 Romanian boys.
Oh my god.
Looking strong with that circle shift.
Green Dog Spot has a beautiful anchor position across the road. I don't know if he'll stay there and the rest of the 3 players kind of stay on the northeastern edge of the circle, or if they'll all full send it into that one position in the circle. Biscay is knocked. Like I said, third parties come into play. Last fight not being able to be closed up by FTY, but now is in Tropic. One of the players moves in. Sans, what are you doing there? Why are you there? Why are you there? I maybe you're trying to create a bit of a bait moment, but in my eyes, 3 seconds to Blue Zone close in. Okay, he gets a knock on the Sushio. I question it, but he made it work. Last fight gave him that free kill, but it shouldn't have been the case.
He went for the off angle opening. Yeah, I think in Tropic, they realized they have to fight their way in zone, so he went for the off angle, the angle that the last fight did not expect, and they've broken in. But this is just the first line of teams they have to broken. Florin with the knock, he gets that trade, gets the kill, but he confirmed it in Tropic down to 3, and they still have ways to go.
I don't know why they all moved up the hill without scouting a little bit more, right? When you only get knock and confirms, it means there's still a player left, and it's hard to tell, of course, but I definitely think that was a little bit presumptuous by Entropic. Credit where it's due to having a much more confident kill-fueled game as a team in this Miramar map. FTY being shut down slowly but surely. The smoke's keeping them alive for the time being. This circle finish is tricky. Respect their 2 players that are left up are separated away from each other. The last player from Chilin is still in play. 11 teams left. We are down on Phase 5 to 28 players though.
28 players is the number's only going to go less as Entropic makes their way in. You see X team trying to cover each other, but one hiding inside the smoke. Sans gets on top of the buggy, uses advantage of that TPP from inside a car, gives him a higher elevation, so to say, just ever so lightly to peek over the smokes, and he hears them. He definitely hears them.
Yep. Sans gets out of the buggy. It's going to move around right in front of him. This is absolutely crazy. Douse Legion popping off, knocking a kill onto one of the X-Team players, but he's just gold touch, left on his own, steps back up, goes into FPP mode, dancing around each other left and right. The pre-fire shot to Sans, switches over and the gun, but Sans gets taken out, and gold touch puts a golden touch on the moment in the smoke.
Oh my god, Gold Touch going prone there. You can literally see the bullets flying over the top of his head. Meanwhile, though, on the other side of things, we got a rainbow of colors. All these teams, like I predicted, trying to stay near the bottom, just trying to survive. No one can really take the top of the mountain, and we got scrap fights every which way. And that circle shift, once again, favoring the 4 Romanian boys.
Yeah, they went for a 2-2 split, which I really respect now. Sending one player up and leaving one as a support line outside the circle would be quite beneficial, but I think maybe they want to try and catch and slow down a few teams on the edge of circle, like Tip Top, like the last players of Respect, to make it even easier for them in the last couple of circles. So I think 4 Romanian boys, despite them being technically gifted, these circles are doing a wonderful job of controlling this game.
Taking advantage of the circle blesses is definitely huge. A lot of teams miss out on so many points because they don't take advantage of it. Meanwhile, these other teams, the only advantage they got left is try to get the kill points. They're out of vehicles. They got wide open terrain to cross, and 4 Romanian boys has their sights on everyone. The feeders getting shot in the back. Everybody's trying to get in on the action.
Yeah. Elicio, last one up. Let's see if he can create a bit of a Xiaomi moment for himself. FTY are taken down. 6 teams left up. Tip Top. Look for another tippity top game in their sights. It's just Killer left on his own. Respect has Salazar and Papi. I don't know how they've been able to survive as a duo, but by God, they're doing it. Salazar said that I was going to see the best of them in Miramar and Erangel. I don't think this is the best of Respect, but it's certainly leading to a pretty good result as 4 Romanian boys sweeping this map. 7 kills so far, and I don't see it stopping.
We're down to 4 teams. Kind of like Sanhok, all of a sudden, teams are just gone. We're down to 4. Yep. 4 Romanian boys has 4. Douse Legion has been laying quiet. They've been getting those close circle shift. They managed to keep 3 up. And X team get taken out right there by a sniper, I think. And now it's just Respect, Douse, and 4 Romanian boys.
Oh, feet have been spotted. They know where they are in the dip. And the utility that they'll be able to collect could work out. Now, because 4 Romanian boys haven't really been crashed upon, I do wonder how much utility they have. However, they haven't had to use much utility, so I imagine there's a few in their backpacks, to say the least. Douse Legion have had a fantastic game. Gotta give them a lot of credit coming in a little bit late into, I think, phase 3, phase 4 circle, but they moved in wonderfully, getting ahead of the likes of Mega Power as they try and make a play, make a switch. They have 2 players knocked up, and Simple is left on his own, and 4 Romanian boys, they know exactly where he is. Time is ticking for the game to be secured. Chicken dinner in the eyes of 4 Romanian boys. They don't have a chicken dinner yet lying on first, but with another fantastic game, consistency personified, wrapped up beautifully in a bow of chicken. It's 4v2.
A 4v2. Respect does have a small ridge that they could use for that TPP peak, but the nades, that ridge is not a that ridge is a goalie, a magnet for grenades. And right here, 4 Romanian boys. We talked about how good they did game 1, talked about how good they did game 2. Well, they just showed us that ain't the best out of them. They just got a chicken dinner for game number 3. 4 Romanian boys, they're in lead. I can't imagine how far ahead they already are, just 3 games in. And they picked up the kill points every single game. They got the kill points in. They got some placement point in. And now they got the chicken dinner in. My God, man. 4 Romanian boys. They eat something for breakfast. I don't know what it is. But they are 4 Romanian boys.
They should be called 4 Romanian kings, because right now they're the kings of this lobby, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, okay, let's be fair. This is only day 1 of 4. So perspective in mind, there's going to be 3 more days of games where other teams can challenge them. But when you are specifically talking about this day 1 and having a good start, you couldn't ask for a better start. Let's take it to the standings of this game to see who might be kind of challenging 4 Romanian boys despite them having a massive lead. I gotta give credit to Respect, to be fair, picking up a 2nd place result.
That was good.
It was weird rotations, kind of late, losing a player. However, adaptability and survivability personified, it was a good result for them.
I think that was a great result for Rexpect. They bounced back on that Sanhok game, right? They for sure weren't feeling too happy about how early they went out. And Miramar, always a tricky map to do the rotations. And sometimes you got to pull out those unorthodox rotations, those rotations that just kind of keep you alive in like, you know, the little dips, the little goalies, but they did it well. They picked up 12 placement points. They also managed to get 4 kill points. So it's not just all playing passive there. X team, another team that did well. And defeaters have been really consistent. We haven't really touched on the defeaters. They're kind of like the 4 Romanian boys of the lobby, but just like a couple notches down. But that consistency from both of these teams are putting them up at the very top of the overall leaderboards.
Yeah, couldn't have said that better myself. It's kind of like they're going under the radar a little bit, but in the best possible way. Let's move on to the second half of the standings. I'm so glad that you highlighted defeaters because I was recognizing that myself. The Noisy Boys only getting 5 points hurts them. Sheilin, who were in third in the overall standings, only getting 4 points will of course allow the teams around them to get closer / overtake them. Once again, the family only getting 2 points in this game. Feel sad,
another
man.
team that's been struggling that I didn't think would struggle so hard, especially coming into the first day, is Mega Power. Mega Power was 7th overall coming into this match, which isn't bad, but it's not the first place Mega Power that we were expecting that finished in group stage, right? I have to say it is honestly due to the circle shifts. These circles have been anything but normal. Normal would be the hard shifts back and forth, but this time it's just shifting towards one direction and it is not stopping. Even the very first Erangel game, we saw the circle go east and then east and then east. Second game of Sanhok, circle went east, east, and east. And that last match of Miramar, it just went south, another one south, and another one south. And it is really hurting the team that is more rotation based, because when you get your rotations down, you're okay with the hard shifts back and forth. You plan for those, but you can't really plan for the ones that just go in one direction the whole time.
Yeah. I will recognize that it definitely hasn't been easy with these circle shifts. I will definitely recognize that. I will caveat that by saying this is PUBG Mobile. What do you expect? You do have to be able to adapt. Right? And you know, that accounts for, that's why I'm not saying it for one specific team. It's for every single team. It sucks. Sucks hard. Sucks hard. Got to be able to adapt. Switch up a little bit. Rotate a little bit earlier. Just little things, but it's up to every one of these teams kind of find out and find that balance. Hopefully Mega Power can bounce back a little bit harder with both circles and results in the last game of the day. Let's go to break. One more game in day one of the finals. We're heading back over to Erangel. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys in a few minutes. We're back. 3 games down, 1 to go. Let's not rush into it. Go straight to the overall standings because the players are in the lobby. We're going to be getting into the last game of the day. 4 Romanian boys. Can they make it 4-4-4? Because that lead already 24 points.
They are averaging 22 points a game right now. Absolutely insane. And defeaters under the radar. But here you see second place overall.
Definitely.
Let's go to the second page as we are about to get ready for the last game of the day. Let's do it quick. Let's do it fast. The players are ready. Here you see the second page. Teams like Mega Power is not a team I expect to be on the second page. But 1 game left. They can still pull it back.
I'm relatively happy with Dao's Legion, to be fair. Entropic, despite being 11th, I've been, to be fair, impressed with their performance. Overall. So yeah, let's see what happens. You can see what's happening with the fantastic Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 5G. Enjoy super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the wonderful sponsors of the PMCO US. We're the last game of the day. This day is kind of low-key flown by super quickly.
Yeah. I almost feel like I haven't started casting because each game was just so different that I haven't even gotten into the groove of things, you know? It's like each one is just reset. You haven't seen this before. But let's get into the last match of Erangel, and maybe we'll see something that we've seen before. Maybe we'll see something that we're more comfortable with. And for the players, I hope they're feeling comfortable on this last game.
I've seen a plane path before. I know that much. But
oh, man.
This plane path is not nice for these teams. Very heavily down south, going straight from west to east. Good for the noisy boys. Good for Rexpect, who like to drop in the military island, of course. But we see defeaters going for an alternative drop spot in Primorsk. Nice adaptability from them.
Maybe with a bad plane path, we'll have good circles, like regular circles. And I'd rather
say it. No, it's not going to happen.
We've had this topic discussion before. Would you rather have a good plane path or good circles? And we both agreed. We'd rather have good circles. The plane path, you can adapt to it. It's nothing too, too crazy, nothing too hard to deal with. But yeah, maybe I did jinx it. Who knows? Even if the first circle looks normal from today's games, I mean, that Miramar game we just had, that was the most normal, non-special circle I've ever seen on Miramar. And then we just got one of the toughest games ever for these teams, right? So who knows? Even with the first circle, we still don't know what kind of game it's going to be. And there you go. Circle finally up on the screen. Some of Military Island included, some of the main island included. Who knows, man? Who knows where it will go?
We said during the break on the military island circle for the last game of the day. But this phase 1 is quite tricky for the 3 teams that are in the military island because you're going to have teams when we're 5-6 minutes into the game start to rotate towards the coastal line of that mainland, right? Whether it's the south of Farm, whether it's the south of Pachinki Hill, where you're going to have teams go there or even possibly intentionally bridge camp. And you can leave it until phase 2 and hope that we see a massive shift up north or a massive shift down south. But if phase 2 is a centralized shift, it's going to be, really tricky indeed, and you're digging your heels in. So I'm curious to see how the Noisy Boys, Sorry for Skill, and Rexpect adapt to this phase 1.
Speaking about adapting, Mega Power doing something very unusual. We see 2 crates right there, and 2 of Mega Power are dead. Given the plane path,
very weird. Very weird.
And all rejection picked up kills with the pistol. Like, given the plane path, there's no reason for 2 players to be stuck out over there. Mega Power just really struggling today and looking weirder than usual.
Greg said to me the team were doing the best to prepare. Well, I hate to say it, but doesn't look like much preparation has been done to continue what they pulled off in group stage. Maybe they prepared to do worse, and that's the product of that preparation. But I doubt that's the case. Love to you guys, Das Legion. They're going to be on the eastern edge of Yasnaya with X Team. But X Team have already started to disperse away from the Yasnaya area. Only one of their players is on the very, very southwestern edge of the city. So probably very little chance that Legion X Team will come into contact.
Speaking of Mega Power, I think what's happening is for them, they have been so confused by the way the circles shifted in all 3 games in a row that the confusion has got into their heads, Imperial. They are just confused of how to play the game now. Because what I just saw with 2 players dying all the way over there next to a tree, it's got me confused. It's got you confused.
Yeah.
And I think Mega Power is still looking very confused. Maybe they'll reset themselves coming into day 2, but this last and final game, they're down to 2 members at the start of the game.
You bring up a I know you're obviously having a little bit of a laugh with it, but it is something that's kind of legitimate in terms of being flustered, right? Frustrated. The first 3 games haven't gone your way. And yeah, you now come into the last game, you make a weird decision, a weird call, a weird play, and you lose 2 players. So yeah, I think you are right in terms of confusion is the name of how Mega Powers have played kind of today's games, or at least the start of the last game.
Circle is slowly starting to close, and teams are making their rotation. I think the teams are a little more hesitant to rotate by the looks of it, seeing how the first 3 games went. Maybe they're just waiting to see where this circle is going to hardship first too before they go. But sorry for Skill making their way past the bridge. New Generation driving right on by. The Noisy Boys still in Military Island, along with Rex chilling down there in the southeast for Novo. All the other teams not really moving much. I think they're just adapting to the hard shifts now. They're just waiting to see where that first circle hard shift goes before they make a move.
Phase 2 will shift to the east, and you'll have all 62 players and 16 teams go to the eastern half of the circle, expecting a Phase 3 shift in the same direction. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that, to be honest. And I think you're right that the teams are going, okay, let's be a little bit more cautious about this circle. Let's not commit too much to technical central position. Let's make it possible for us to react a little bit easier to the next circle shift.
I feel like if I went back to watch all the 3 games, as far as 4 Romanian boys go, I have a feeling that they kind of just stayed on the edge when it came to Circle 4, and when it just hard shifted a certain way, they were able to adapt to it more easily than being the central teams, right? Because when you're central and it hard shifts away, you're surrounded by teams that were also doing the standard central strat. And that hard shift doesn't leave room for you to move around. Whereas if you stay on the edge and it hard shifts, you can wrap around. You can maybe even get blessed by that hard shift, but staying on the edge of an earlier circle. So that does seem like to be why teams are rotating just a little bit slower in this game, as they're waiting to see that first circle hard shift come out, if it does even happen.
Defeaters have had a great start to day 1 of the finals as they move through the Erangel landscape. Chinky Hill seem to be their place of call, but they're going a little bit deeper and might drive into the loving arms of La Familia, who got there first. Southern Hills of Pachinki. FTY looking good. They headed into a similar area in the first game of the day as well, so they're a little bit familiar.
Bit more familiar indeed. Defeaters rotating on by, running into some shots out of La Familia, but they do get the warning shots there, so they're going to rotate away or yeah, they're going to rotate back the way
I like that from Defeaters.
They're doing well, so no need to risk anything or to get aggressive. Yeah. Their game plan has been working out great. They've just been focused on the rotations and the circle. That is a regular circle shift. Now I don't know what to say because I was not prepared to just talk about a regular circle. I was ready for that hard shift.
It's a refreshing circle shift, to be fair, and a little bit relieving for a lot of these teams because they don't have to consider, military island, not military island. It's definitely towards that mainland. Or Romanian boys, beautiful stuff from them. Phase 2 shifts up, they go a bit deeper, they push, they get a kill. This is classic play from 4 Romanian boys.
They're looking strong as ever. It is only 1 kill, but based on their past 3 performances, that is just a confidence booster. Like already picking up an easy clean knock, an easy thirst. He loses a wheel, but that does not matter. He's the 4 Romanian boys. He could drive that buggy with all 4 wheels missing at this point. They just look unstoppable.
Peter's reacting and adapting quite well to a lot of these teams' positions. They know that they came in a little bit late on phase 1, so there's already teams solidified on this phase 2 because it was such a solid shift. To me, that's experience and intelligence. From a team that has multiple players that's played in PMPL, that's what we're seeing right in front of our eyes, and it's really good to see, and a lot of teams can learn from situations like this, adapt and recognize that, hey, when you leave it late or something isn't right with the circle shift and you know you can't push deeper into the circle, just wait it out. Ride it out a little bit and see where the next circle takes you.
I 100% agree. You can always use the chaos of the next shift to circumvent teams. You don't necessarily have to get in front of a team to get in front of them. You can let 2 teams get in front of you, have those 2 teams end up fighting each other, and you just rotate on by using that chaos to your advantage. I'm taking a look at the circle right now. So right now we got FTY dead in the center of the circle. They're doing a nice little split, not too far away from each other, but they're controlling that central spot very well. See some long range shots. That's La Familia rotating on in. 4 Romanian boys driving back and forth, figuring out what's open, what's not, doing some scouting there. And the next circle is about to come out on your screen.
And just waiting it out a little bit. Riding the wave of this phase 2, the calm phase 2 before a potential storm of thunder, lightning, hailstones, rain, and everything being thrown at these teams for phase 3. South stage and plenty of space in front of them. It is a shift down on the southeastern side with about 30% water in play. That's the storm that I was looking for.
That storm is going to just get washed on that beachfront right now. There is a chance it might go south. Again, we've seen the hardships come out in games 1 and 3. You said it's not a military island. I see a little bit of military island still in play. Just do that hardship south in Burio. I would love to see the chaos that ensues from there. But X team rotating on in. They have to stop short as they get shot at, and multiple teams all rotating by. Don't stop too early in the open. as they do get shot at.
Woohoo! X team pushes in. 4 Romanian boys being pushed back a little bit. A third party, I believe, from FTY comes into play. As Playboy looks on in the distance as the last player standing for his side. They hit their brick wall on this phase 3. The thunder rolls. The lightning strikes. And X team, they deal with it beautifully.
Whew. There was crossfires from angles that I do not even know of. I think 2 or 3 other teams maybe got involved like long range and put some shots. And for Romania boys, well, doesn't look too good for them this last final game, but they got 3 consistent games in a row, so they shouldn't be too worried. If anything, that player should just look to third party and maybe steal some kills away. They're only down to 1, and all Rejection Gaming with a head-on collision crash onto New Generation.
All Rejection Gaming now looking to have a successful crash onto New Generation indeed. KMA is on top of the roof, but I don't know if that play is going to be worth it because the crash has already been made. And if anything, he could be at risk of a third party. He moves out from the roof side because he knows there's no use in him being up there. Nade thrown in the direction of the building. Oh, Rejection Gaming, they trade on up. Snipe is still on his knees, but not confirmed up just yet. Bobby was able to pick up the first kill to leave it in. Technically, if the revive plays out, it's 3v3 again. Both these teams have got to deal with potential third parties from X Team, from the Noisy Boys, from FTY.
The Noisy Boys on that beach side right there. Once those smokes clear out, there's a chance New Generation can be shot in the back if they stay on the outside walls for too long. They really do need to hurry up and finish this fight. The circle's going to shift, and most likely it's going to shift away from them. All Rejection Gaming getting a bit more proactive with the nades, but another knock does come through, and that is the cue for New Generation to push them in.
Lovely Molly. Looking to separate, disperse, isolate them inside that building. Lovely push being played out. That's going to be bangs. Getting the killer blow. All Rejection Gaming are eliminated. And hey, Red X said that they wanted to prove their worth. They wanted to prove their justification in the finals. Definitely a good way of doing that for day 1.
Imperium, have you seen the circle?
Yes, sir. I actually hadn't.
It's not what I said earlier. And for the viewers that are watching, the circle will come up very shortly on your screen. I don't want to give it away. I don't even want to tell the viewers right now where it is. I want them to see it for themselves once the observers show it. So for now, Imperium I will just watch in awe as the coming. Oh, there we go. Ooh, I love that camera work.
It's a beautiful circle. It's a beautiful circle. X team send it into a shack, but they are stopped dead. Separated, Gold Touch and Psyox. Psyox may be going for the revive and the Nightmare. Lovely nades being thrown out by FTY, a little bit too far away, but they know they have to be swift on this engagement. The revive is pulled off into the McLaren. They're going to go drive away. They get away with that one, but Simple is going to move past. The Noisy Boys going to have their area breached. X Team and FTY going to go for the same compound. This is a lovely compound to fight in, by the way, because I think all these buildings are pretty big. It kind of feels like a mini city, even though it's technically not.
Yeah, all the buildings are big. You got the 2 long warehouses. You have the gigantic barn, and even the amount of walls surrounding this could house an entire team. But Biscuit does not want to be neighbors with X Team. That grenade like a missile.
Oh man, so good. But why aren't they pushing on it? That's the big thing, right? You get a knock. Now I know they don't have that much information, and I get that it's tricky. Still feel a bit of an extra push for that might help. I see Simple's going for something. Goes in the outside of the building, using the walls to his advantage. Things are only going to get harder because Phase 4 Blue Zone's creeping in. You could have a bit of a third party from Tip Top shy north of these two teams. For the time being, we're at a bit of a stalemate. Douse Legion trying to find an entrance into the circle. A team that like to play on the very edge in the blue. Shilin is going to be in front of them. A metaphorical wall stopping them from encroaching. Can they climb over the wall? No, they cannot. Shilin shut them down pretty swiftly.
Chilan with a great defense there. Douse Legion trying to get behind them. Now Chilan on the edge, but they have good control of what's in front of them. All the other teams have defaulted to playing compounds, sharing buildings, being neighbors next to each other. Chilan, they are able to move freely on the next shift, and this next shift comes out, and as freely as Chilan might be able to move, there is nothing free inside that zone.
Tropic. Doing good. They have to think about their position and in order entrance into the next circle, should I say. The Noisy Boys kind of committed to that coastline position in between the compound and the garage, and it hurt them big time. They do still have 2 players up, Andy and Beg, but they're not really going to be able to move much further from their current position. Another knock from Biscay. Come on, how many knocks do you need to make a push? That hits the edge of the roof. That doesn't work this time. Luckily, it's on the zombie, so the rest of the FTY. Okay, the confirmation is done. Zute, why aren't they pushing, man? Why aren't they pushing?
They recognize they're all clumped up in one building. They realize there's a good chance if they all push from this angle, they could easily get crossfired. And they have the zone, so I don't mind them taking their time. Usually an experienced team does the push you're looking for if they have more angle controls and angles to work with, but they're all stuck together, so it is a big risk. So we'll see how they play this one out. They do have zone. They could take their time. They could work this team just slowly. There's no big rush here. And especially since we're heading into the late game, there's no rush to move anywhere either.
I love the fact that you just kind of provide that conscious level of thinking. I need to slow down, not be too harsh. See what they pull out and execute on board. 12 teams left, 38 players alive. On the opposite side, you have Shilin still controlling the north, but they've allowed Sorry for Skill to get a little bit ahead. You also have Rexpect in playing Tropic. I think found a bit of an entrance in this circle by the farm hillside. There's a couple of bumps and ridges that these teams are able to uphold, but it's easier said than done. And in Tropic are in the flatlands. Besso prones down, doesn't get the knock, gets knocked out for himself, and that puts him under pressure. Second knock by Entropic onto the members of Sorry for Skill. This is a new Entropic compared to PMCO group stage.
Oh yeah, Entropic shooting some lasers back. 1, 2. That is 2 knocked from Sorry for... I think that one was towards from Chilin, but Entropic just definitely laying down the hurt right now. And here we go, that DP spray. Missing a few shots there. No big problem, as that player has to run over in the open. Starkey, can he get that finish, or can he get that kill steal that confirm? Sorry for Skill does end up getting it. Entropic does not have the circle. Circle shifted away once again. We're going to head towards the southeastern edge, where Rex has been chilling.
Chilled them. Yeah, they've been chilling out, max and relaxing, all cool. Shooting some bullets all across the map. Ooh, okay, yeah, that's the best I can do, to be fair. The Familia, though, finally have an opportunity to get a good result in this game. Sorry for Skill go at FTY committing to this coastline. The Noisy Boys in front of the next team went out earlier on. By the way, a lovely nade from FTY, but 2 in return takes down 2 of the FTY players. Absolutely fantastic from Andy. Biscay and Addis left to their own devices. Biscay is actually going to drive ahead to get into the side of the circle by the rock. He makes it in, but Addis, will he be able to spot out the last player of the Noisy Boys? No, he doesn't have to throw him down in time. Steps back up, takes a shot, but it's going to get knocked down. I think a bit of a third party, yes, from Rexpect. But Biscay just doing Biscuit things with those nades. It's incredible.
How many grenades does this man have? I've seen on screen him throw 4 to 5. Imagine how many more he has thrown off screen. And crazy amount of accuracy too. Biscuit, last one up. The rest of his team has literally exploded in a poof of explosions. That buggy, I was not expecting that. I even shouted, oh. 2 of them just disappeared, but the fight continues elsewhere on the map. Tit Top fighting La Familia here.
On a side note, last fight went down. So did the side of defeaters. Indeed, Tip Top, La Familia, fighting in this one compound on the western edge of the circle. Technically, Familia do have the better of the edge of the circle, but the elevation point cannot keep one of the tip-top players alive. Nice play by Kobo. Surely he's got to recognize that. Maybe a bit of a push from the family might work out. Due diligence, due time. Keep them under pressure. Once you are firing constant shots in the members of Tip Top, you are slowing them down. You are suppressing them. They confirm that kill. CP, DD on the edge of the building. Drop shot. Plays out Kobo with the confidence level of a giant. The monster play comes out. But Tip Top are going to get taken out. And 2 players of the family are knocked down. But they should be able to get revived.
This is the La Familia we were expecting to see today. Looking good, making it into the late games, down to 4 teams, and they'll get that full reset. Rexpect, meanwhile, chilling and chill they are. They get the zone, plus nobody is around them. They have 3 up, and they have unlimited ammo to work with right now.
Yeah, this is a really, really easy game for them for the most part. I like that even spread across both sides of the road. 2 on one side, 1 on the other. They're holding so much cover on the rest of the circle. It's a dominating position for them to be in. Biscay's still alive. So is the last player of the Noisy Boys. Nade is fired up. Most likely will get, and he goes a little bit too far, and he gets a knock on the Broody boy. This is big. It's big for La Familia. Why? Because they do still have those 3 players up despite not being in the circle. 1 knock puts Rex down to 2, and he's still going. Biscay's pushed forward. He's been unnoticed in the cover of the fields, in amongst the smokes. Still 4 teams up, 8 players alive. Edging closer to the edge of the circle is La Familia, all in a row like a bunch of ducks looking to drive it home as a family.
How are the solos still alive out of FTY? And the Noisy Boys, they've crawled through the field at least 50 meters. And Andy, if he gets this opening, oh, he does not. That is one of the solos finally down. And there goes another solo. We're down to a 3v3.
It may be technically 3v3, but Bardo is knocked out. Broody boy has the elevation point of the house, and he's going to be the biggest reason why Rexpect win this game. Boom, there you go, another one. 1 player left. Job done, but no, the knock comes through. Kobo's trying to survive, but the blue zone gets the better of them, and that's Rexpect Esports taking the final game of the day. Once again, hashtag roar with us.
Oh my gosh, that last game. I'm ready. Okay, that last game I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm ready to cast more, but that was the last game.
I know, right?
The other 3 games before that were wild. Don't get me wrong, but it was so wild. I could not follow what was happening. That last game, though, was wild, but we saw the engagement. We saw multiple teams get wiped out, putting up a fight. Everybody went out with a bang, and the solos from FTY and the Noisy Boys, they also clutched in huge. They made it to the very end. What a last game. I just want to see how the teams did. Let's look at the scores. Rexpect with the chicken dinner. They got one in. And, excuse me. Let's look at the leaderboards. Let's look at the overall leaderboards.
For Romanian boys, it may not have been the last game they would have wanted, but still a 20-point lead. Respect with that last game chicken dinner, and to be fair, some pretty solid results in the lead up to that. Jump into second place, overtakes the feeders who are behind them by 1 point.
Second place down to sixth place. No, even from second down to seventh is a difference of 9 points. That's what you kind of expect after 4 games, right? That like middle of the pack. Well, that's not even the middle of the pack. That's like the top end middle of the pack. They're so close next to each other. And for Romanian boys, they managed to only get 1 point that last game. But with only 1 point, they're still 20 points ahead of second place. Those first 3 games, the Romanian boys really, like you said, they were the Romanian kings in those first 3 games. That last game, though, kind of got the crown stolen by them. Respect definitely came in huge for that last one. And next team down in 8th place, but the difference between 7th and 8th is 9 points. That's a big gap to have between 7th and 8th.
And you can tell that this lobby is certainly becoming, a lot more challenging for these teams, because FTY, a team who proved their ability to really control the late games and sweep on through and get a lot of kills, did have a couple of struggles in today's game. Still 22 and 22, so very even between kills and placements, but those late game kind of position, that late game position wasn't really there as a team from FTY. And that, I think that's just a product of the fact that it's very, very strong competition around them. Let's move on to the second page, the second half of the standings in the PMCO EUS finals. Good recovery from a Familia. Really good recovery. Up to 9th, 25 points.
Yeah, that's great. La Familia was 15th place coming into this last game, looking like nothing from the group stage, but we finally see the last game. The circle's still pretty wild and crazy, but not as wild as the first 3 games, and La Familia was able to pull it through. They were able to get that consistency. They finished with that second place up to 9th. That is a good spot to be in for the next 3 days. At least they are not towards the bottom end of the second page. But talking about bottom end of second page, Mega Power. Who would have thought? I was not ready to see that.
I wasn't ready, but I also know that it's happened before. We have seen so many PMCOs in the past, or even PMPLs, where a team can do really well in the league stage, as an example, but then in the finals they get crushed. I remember back in the EMBA, I think it was some team, if I'm not mistaken, was it World of Wonders? Maybe it was. But either way, a team did really well in kind of the league stage, but when it came to the finals, they were nowhere to be seen. So as much as I wasn't expecting it, it is something that's possible. I hope they bounce it back in tomorrow's 4 games, because they certainly don't want to stay in the bottom half of the standings. Entropic, I think, did better than I was low-key expecting. Still that whole trend of not having loads of players up in the late game and struggling to capture those placement points, right? 5 placement points out of 4 games isn't good enough. But the kills, the kind of aggression outside of game 1 was a big improvement.
Yeah, they came in with 3 points as far as placement points go, but they had 10 kills. So they were fighting their way in. That's good to see, especially from a team that struggles, right? If you are a team that's struggling, but you could get the kill points in, that is signs of hope. I will say, though, for everybody else that did not do too well, I'm going to give you guys all a pass on today. I don't usually do that. I rarely ever do, especially since we're so many days into the PMCO. I would usually say you should be ready for anything by now. But today, even as a caster, I was not ready for the
Yeah.
ridiculousness of the circle shifts. So I'm giving everyone a pass that didn't do well. We still got 3 days left, though. So that's more than enough days to prove if you're really a good team or not. So no more excuses by the end of the finals. But for the first day, if you did good, great for you. Good job. Take that lead, run with it. And for the teams that did not do too well, hey, I get it. Today was kind of wild. You'll bring it back the next few days.
Professor Zute speaks wisely. He gives all of the class a pass in today's games, but you're going to have to be on your A game tomorrow to pass the class for Zute once again. 4 million boys, they end day one on top of the standings. Will it follow suit, or will we have more challengers to overtake them? Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place for day 2 of the PMCO EU West Finals. Have a lovely evening and see you tomorrow.